That wasn't the scream in terror. That was you choking on something.
Thrills, chills, kills!
No, in V3 it's a lot more Mickey Mouse-like, where it's like, thrills, chills, kills, haha!
Literally, like, what, because, like, what was it, like, the first game came out in, like, what was it, like, 2007?
And he just sounds like Teddy from Persona 4. And
Yeah,
then in
and then-
V3, the voice direction was like, just do Mickey Mouse!
Oh, fuck! Glory to the Empire! Feel the ultimate despair, haha!
Haha, it's punishment time!
every Disney employee is like, oh, fuck!
Yeah. So I assume that you're also playing the game with the English voice acting turned on, right?
I am, yes. I believe in in our English dub supremacy. I'm more than okay with it. Fucking voice actor of Aaron, voiced Makoto in the first game, and then in the second game he voiced
Nakito Komaeda. I don't know why I can't pronounce names today.
Yeah, he also voiced Komaeda, and I just what I find really funny is that his Nagito voice is literally just his Eren voice by the end of like Attack on Titan. It's so funny.
Literally just the Nagi. It's literally just I'm mixing them up. God damn it! It's literally the Makoto Naegi voice, just with a little bit of oomph.
Yeah, it's just Makoto if he was like a bit more.
And then with
invested
Kibo's English
in the
voice, it's just dust, which is hilarious to me.
It's fun times.
It is. That also gives me a really great idea for like. Okay, because you've played V3, you already know the character of Tsumugi Shirogane by now, correct?
That's the ultimate cosplayer, yeah.
I'm the ultimate cosplayer with a voice really high like this, but yeah.
Yes, that one.
But yeah, so here's
the ultimate
thing.
cospox.
So yeah, I thought of doing like art of Kibo and Tsumugi. One, because I really like them together, they're adorable together. I ship Kimugi with my whole heart. However, because Kibo's English voice actor is Lucian Dodge, which is basically just dust, I had the idea of like, okay, it'd be fun to draw him in a dust cosplay, that'd be very wholesome. But then, with Tsumugi, because she's the ultimate cosplayer, you then have to pose the question, if she were to cosplay Fidget, obviously that's gonna be a fursuit, right? But as the ultimate cosplayer, would she just have like a normally proportioned fursuit, or would she actually just change into Fidget and just change species while in costume?
I think it would just be like a human-sized fursuit. I haven't gotten that far into V3. I've only like finished the first chapter, so whether it goes completely balls to the wall insane, I'm not aware of it so far. But as far as I'm aware, the ultimate cosplay is just cosplay. I don't think Tsugumi has the power to like fundamentally change her entire body. But again, in the business, we call this foreshadowing. So yeah, that little maniacal laugh is just showing me that oh boy, I've got a lot of shit to be fucking excited for in the later chapters. Yay! But
yes,
that's the initial impression I've gotten so far.
That is the fun thing about knowing all of V3's story and talking to a total noob to the series, or as Miyu Inuma would phrase it, fucking virgin!
Oh yeah. Who voices her again? Because I could have sworn it was fucking Junko's voice actor.
I think her name is Wendy Lee, but I could be wrong. I know her name is Wendy, I just don't know about her last name. But yeah, like
it's like, did she voice any other characters in Danganronpa? Because her voice sounds so similar. She also voiced
Akane Owari.
Akane, that's it. Okay, yeah, that's the similarity.
Yeah, so
I loved Akane in 2. She was great.
Yeah, I also love like Kibo and Miyu. It's not really a spoiler because anyone who ships Kiruma will mention this scene nonstop because it's the closest we have to like a canon ship in the series. But there's a scene, I think it happens somewhere in chapter 3, and I'm not sure how to unlock it because I'm playing the game blind. There's a scene between them. And it's definitely a scene.
It's definitely one that every shipper's like, hey yo, what is this? Is this what the people call ammunition?
It is definitely a scene. It is. It's also the closest we get to port in the series.
Ah, for real.
Yeah, it's
You'll love to see
nuts.
it.
And
You'll love to
basically,
see it.
yeah, it's
To
something.
quote that one little guy, quote that one little fucking mono kid, I got a red hot ranger!
Which one is that?
That's Mono Kid. He's the first one that
The
gets
red
well,
one?
No, the blue one.
Oh yeah, the first one that dies.
Yeah.
The rock star.
Spoilers
Sex,
for a
drugs,
fucking,
and rock
like,
and roll
yeah.
one.
Voiced by Patrick Seats. It's great.
That
It
guy's
was funny
voice
hearing
is
fucking
like,
Dio come out of him.
yeah, that guy's voice is amazing. Like, I know him as Agni from Black Butler and also Germany, and yeah, he does voice Dio in JoJo. But yeah, so whenever I hear him, it's just a surprise. It's like, oh, it's Germany.
What's also great is that like he's also been involved in the Danganronpa series. He was in Danganronpa 2. He voiced Nekomaru.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was funny just to hear him go shit every fucking like 5 minutes.
He's also Samson in Skullgirls, which is really
Oh,
fun
I
to
see,
taunt people
okay.
with. I have a question. This is very unprofessional, but we're live and I can't really help it anymore. I can't just log off and log back on the stream. What's your YouTube at? It's not popping up for me.
Oh.
I've had this issue before where the only people who pop up whenever I type like is Thomas Blue, Shadow759, and those are like the main two. Everyone else is spam. Or someone I don't know.
I think it's if I go to my own YouTube feed. Hold on, let me just
Because I want to
get to the right one.
Yeah, like I don't want to tag like
I think
very like similar names. So
I think it literally is just a manga writer as just one word.
is it like capitalized or? Hold on, none of the ads are capitalized.
Yeah, it's all lowercase.
I can't find it! I have just like a million other different people coming up that don't look like the person.
Oh man.
Can you like copy and paste it so I can just copy and paste it?
Sure, let me see if I can do that. Hold on.
Because all I'm getting is
da,
spam,
da, da.
like not the correct people whatsoever.
It's like, why?
That's the dangerous thing about like the ability to just like have the just type in the @ symbol and then just like have it pop up like a bajillion names. Where it's like, it's cool that that's a feature, but it's not working. It's not helping me find people. It's not helping me find the correct people.
Okay, that should be it. You should be good with that.
Let me see if it's the right one. Oh, it's not?
No.
Come the fuck on! Alright,
That just don't exist apparently.
alright, hold on. I gotta find another way to test it out. Goodness, this is a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. Alright, youtube.com / the name. Boom. Is it the right person? It's the right person. Okay.
Hey.
Because like a bajillion different like other names came up. It's like, oh boy. It's all the wrong people.
I mean, that is like, yeah. I mean, that is like the one disadvantage of having a super generic name.
Yeah, that's why I'm just my
I
initials
shot myself in the foot with that
in
one.
a title. That's
That's
why I'm
fair.
just my initials in a title. It got a lot easier to make myself a person on the internet space. But yeah, I love how I am having almost 10 minutes in the stream and I haven't introduced myself or started anything like a normal streamer would. That's fun. That's cool. And I don't
We
know
subverting stuff here, boys.
and I don't know if the @ is working. I posted in the YouTube like community post thing. I don't know if the @ will actually work. We'll just have to see. This is very last minute. I was either gonna stream today or I was just gonna relax. It was kind of a toss-up. But hey, sometimes shit happens, and it's not bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I figured somewhere... Oh wait, no, I don't have the thing anymore. Shit. Let's see. I'll just copy and paste my little self-promotion shit one last time. No, I can just share the link. No one will care. Literally, no one will care. I'm done trying to make taglines and shit. Flop. Alright. Awesome.
Wahoo!
Yeah. So this was a very last-minute stream, but everyone here knows who I am. I am Author SSD. I'm an artist. I'm a voice actor. I also love talking about robots, which is why I came up with these streams in the first place, because I needed an outlet. And, yeah.
Your own little part of the void, just let it out there.
Yeah, essentially. Like, I just needed an outlet to be like, you know, I really fucking love talking about robots. I need an outlet because I have literally no one else to talk about robots with. So, yeah, that's how that happened. Originally, these streams were called Sci-Fi Saturday because I kind of just got lucky in June. I had 2 Saturdays off in a row. So I was like, oh boy, perfect day to stream. Plus, alliteration. I fucking love alliteration when I can help it. But, yeah, I renamed them Sci-Fi Sessions for the sake of, you know, being multi-purpose and not restricted to Saturdays. And,
That's fair.
Yeah. So it's not as hashtagable though, which sucks, but also, you know, it works if I can't consistently do stuff on a Saturday. But because this was very last minute, because I'm gonna do more than talk about robots this one time, I called it Semi-Sci-Fi Saturday, at least in the thumbnail. And yeah, this thumbnail was kind of cobbled together. This was just a drawing I did just to have on the back burner somewhere. But yeah, I made it a thumbnail and I was like, okay, the plan, talk about machines, work on overlay, test out the overlay, build a shelf digitally, meet new people, and take over the world, which is the most important one.
Exactly.
And I will take over the world with my compassion for machines. And also, who are you?
The basilisk will spare you, I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah, also, who are you?
I'm the voice inside Author SSD's head. I'm not sure if you could hear me, to be honest, but nah, I'm just kidding. I'm a manga writer. I guess the best way I could describe myself is that I'm also an artist. I am a YouTuber. I tend to review a lot of TV shows, movies, video games, and various other things. I like, you know, I like talking about my certain opinions that people either really like or really don't like. I'm not really out here to impress people. I'm here just to let my voice be heard.
I'm
in
just
my
here to
own
talk
little...
about my hyperfixations in public.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
I mean, that's basically what being a content creator is.
Oh yeah, you have to find like your own little like kind of niche and then just expand your horizons from there. That's how I tend to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I decided to start these kinds of streams where I talk about robots in the first place. And yeah, so I decided to treat myself to a new overlay, which was awesome. And I teased it in the community posts before. And yeah, so now I'm actually trying to get it working. On this particular overlay, I know there's a smudge somewhere on the monitor. I have since erased that in, you know, the file that I created this monitor in. But I didn't update it for the stream itself yet, so that's still gonna be there just for today until I can get it fixed. And then there's this wonderful shelf in the background. That is an image I got off of the internet. That was meant to be temporary. So,
oh well.
Yeah, it was meant to be temporary just to get an idea of like, okay, how would it look? And it looks fine. I actually really like the idea of like a gigantic ass monitor, and then there's like a nice shelf in the background, because my idea was, okay, not only could I have this, I actually have the, I have the actual photo I used as a reference, and it's all just, it's a shelf I got from Home Depot's website. I just kind of cobbled it together to make it look like, you know, an actual factual shelf. So the reason damn it, he's not here. I can't make the joke. I've had the phrase "the reason" or like "the reason I'm in here" or anything followed up with "the reason" ruined for me by Thomas Blue. This is a call-out post on my YouTube channel about that and how he ruined the phrase for me. Cause
Oh dear.
every time like the reason, no matter what happens after that, no matter what, every time the reason is said, he just goes the reason in his Sonic voice, and it's horrible.
Oh dear.
There's a
Oh,
reason
dear.
I affectionately call him Sonic in a human suit. But yeah, the reason I thought about getting a bookshelf was because for my more educational streams, I do tend to reference a lot of books. So the reason I thought of having a bookshelf in the background was so that way I could feature the books that I'm actually referencing on the shelf instead of just putting them in the description. And then I could put some other knickknacks as well, like, I don't know, a little perfume bottle. Not that I use perfume. I don't know, picture frame of something.
Gotta let people know that you're a female streamer with a perfume.
And then I also thought of something very silly in the form of like, I could use the shelf as a way to feature guests on the stream. Like in the form of like plush toys and stuff. I don't know what pose I was going for here.
Fuck a commit.
He's melted. He's fine.
Nah.
He's a plush that got chewed up by the family dog. It's okay. He'll live.
It's like, no! How could you do this to him?
So yeah, I thought of doing a lot of things with just like the simple shelf as like the background. I could come up with a more complex background, like some streamers have like entire like they look like stills from a visual novel kind of backgrounds, but I went with something simple, you know, as a way to talk about machines.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
it also would it would also be good for like if no one reads the description, at least I have the books on the shelf. What I'll probably end up doing is I'll probably end up either copy and pasting like publicly available covers like from the internet. Like one book that I referenced in I believe my first sci-fi related stream was a lovely book called Love Plus Sex with Robots. It's not an instructional manual. It is nonfiction. It was recommended reading from school. It's fine.
Was it?
But yeah, so I ended up just kind of like doodling the cover on the stream, but realistically speaking, I can either copy and paste the cover from somewhere, wherever that image is available, or if I'm absolutely fucking nuts, I could either scan my copies of the books just so I could have, you know, my own copies of the covers just on the shelf, or I could try to arrange the books on my actual shelves, photograph them, Photoshop and remove the background, and then just stick those on the shelves. But that's going a little crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that's just adding like 5 extra steps that don't need to be there.
But it is fun.
No,
I would
it's
do
true.
it if
Yeah.
it wasn't fun. But yeah.
Damn, it's not just content creation, I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's fun going the extra mile even if you don't have to, just because you can.
Oh yeah. Like I had a whole like an example of me going like one step ahead was that for my Sonic movie review, which is my latest video that came out, there was a bit in it where, because in a few weeks time I'm going to be uploading like me and Sergeant Major Mario's like reaction to the movies, because like I recorded the whole thing. And there was a whole moment where, you know, in Sonic 3, where Shadow and Maria are up on the roof in Prison Island. And they're just, you know, they're just like chatting the shit and stuff.
Yeah.
Me and Sergeant just started making jokes that people down below were like panicking and shit, wondering where the fuck Shadow went and where Maria went as well. So they thought they're like, oh fuck, Shadow like kidnapped Maria or something like that. And a joke that Sergeant made at one point was that like bombs were going off in the background, and I was like, oh, that could be a cool like little visually funny bit. But I didn't want to just do like the whole thing right. I just like took shitty green screen explosions and just put them on in front of the video. I wanted them to actually like be in the background, like behind Shadow and Maria and all that. So what I had to do was that Sergeant taught me a technique called masking, which is a thing that you can do in Sony Vegas. And suffice to say, once I learned that skill, it made the joke so much better. And I was super happy with it.
What I like doing is I like taking advantage of my ability to do photography and just do impressions and stuff, and that's my going extra.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I also just
Yeah, a lot of my
a
extra
lot
stuff
of
is, like, on
interesting
the editing
things.
side.
And the fun part about being friends with people who do voices and other crazy things is that you can get them to read and say very saucy things, and they'll just do it for the bit because it's funny. So, my goodness, the things I have made Thomas Blue say in the voice. Whoops, wrong layer.
The dreaded wrong layer.
Yes, it's awful. But yeah.
Every
so,
single time.
So you actually made the outline for the shelf because I was like, I need to make the photo I found more original, so Home Depot doesn't come
Yes.
after my ass with a summer clearance sale. But I also don't know which colors to use because, like, this photo itself, it has like a dark background and then the shelf is like a nice birch color. So I'm gonna fuck around with the colors and just see what I like. But at least with it being a transparent background, I can just color it in however I damn well please.
Yeah, that is a very big advantage. I remember you saying, like, the other day that a possible color for this was like a pastel to, like, kind of fit with the with the computer.
Well, my monitor's already, like, because my previous monitor... Let me actually get my previous overlay. So this is my previous / current overlay. And
Okay.
it's a giant pink computer, and it has 2 screens. That extra box up there is meant to be a screen. But that like, has a little door attached to it, so that way it's, like, optional. Like, oh, if I have a guest, I can put them up there. And then I never implemented it.
No.
Because I mostly just stream alone. So I was like, okay, let me kind
Fair.
of reduce the chunk of this monitor. And that's how... No, that's a different one. And that's how I came up with this one. But yeah... So this was actually, like, a beta version, so you could see, like, the brown-colored shelves. This was me just tracing the photo I found with, like, the straight line rulers. But yeah, it doesn't look very good, because I can't draw anything that's not a person. So yeah, and then I took the monitor and I kind of stretched it out a bit, and that's how I ended up with this. And I also gave the monitor, like, an actual, like, brand name and stuff. So I was really proud of
Yeah,
that.
it's the magic mirror.
Yeah,
That's funny.
and then I put, can you read the model number? Do you know what it means?
I should know what this means, but I don't. Setsubo.
No, the whole thing.
To the Z3. Yeah, this is completely lost on me.
So yeah, it's actually, it can be read one of 2 ways. It can either be read as 2D Zetsubo or 2D Zetsubo. So 2D, obviously, because I'm a PNG tuber, and I am 2D in nature. I'm not live 2D. I'm not fancy like that. So I am just, I'm just a flat image, 2D. Or it can be read as Nidi, which is a Japanese way of saying 2D, but 2D is also a very layered term over there because 2D could also refer to, like, 2D women. Like, saying, like, oh, I'm into 2D women means, like, you're not into, like, real human people or, like, real human females.
Ah, right.
And then it also, because Nidi, or 2D in Japanese, sounds like the word needy in English, it's also a reference to Needy Streamer Overload, which was, like, the first game that I tested out on my previous layout and my previous monitor.
Real fans will get this one.
Yeah, and then, of course, the term Zetsubo is, despair in Japanese.
Ah, yes.
And I picked that for 2 reasons. One, because I'm just kind of a very melancholy person, I suppose, but also, Zetsubo is the opposite of Kibo, which is hope. And I can't shut up about Kibo to save my life, so, haha, Zetsubo. Yeah. I was originally gonna
There's
spell...
layers to this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about layers. I mean, I keep drawing on the wrong layers by accident, but I mean, you know, life is a lot more interesting when you're a very layered person.
That's true.
Like, I recently came to the epiphany of, like, have you ever seen those Sekis ads where, their whole ad campaign was like, I'm the most interesting man in the world and I drink Dos Equis?
I think so, yeah. I don't think I've seen that ad specifically, but I know what kind of ads you're talking about.
Yeah, it was an ad campaign that went for like a ridiculously long time. So yeah, there are probably like a bajillion variations like of that commercial just over the years of, like, I'm the most interesting man in the world and I drink Dos Equis. So yeah, and I recently came to the epiphany of like, I'm proud of the fact that I have a lot of skills in like varying fields. Like I am a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I wonder if like I would qualify as like the most interesting man in the world, even though I don't drink Dos Equis. But yeah, so
I think it's definitely it's good. It's definitely good to like dip your toes in like all kinds of different fields because it just kind of makes life more interesting.
I
As
just
well.
do whatever I find interesting too. Like I can't really stick to one thing. Like when I was plotting out like what kind of VTuber I wanted to be, I was like, but I don't want to do just one thing. I want to do everything. That's why even my little bio in the description says I'm author SSD and I do everything. Because I just do
It's like,
everything. I don't
yeah.
just do one thing. And that's the thing. Like I've just like the way Merlogic describes himself in the various fandoms that he's a part of is that like he just kind of pops into different fandoms and he just keeps a low profile and doesn't really make himself known. So I'm very much the same. I'm a fandom chameleon. I do a lot of different things. I do a lot of things offline and online. So it's like, yeah, I just do different things. I don't want to restrict myself to just one thing. Like. And plus the term artist is like, oh, so you paint, you draw, you make your little pictures and stuff. It's like, well, being an artist just, it's very multi-layered. There are different kinds of art that like, and yeah, like there's sculpting and drawing and like sewing can be a form of art. It's like, so describe myself as an artist didn't do me any good. Especially because my primary art style takes forever to complete, like a single piece. Because I'm a perfectionist and also a traditionalist. But then just saying I'm a voice actor didn't really work either because it's like, yeah, I voiced and stuff, but that's not like my main gig. It just kind of happened that way. So it's like, that's kind of why I went with the name author, just because author is just a title. It's also not like the term actor or actress where it's needlessly gendered. So,
right,
and the root of the word author just means like someone who created something, like the creator of a work. So it's like, that fits.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, but I just do a lot, so it's like, I just do everything. Oh, and Adam's in the chat. Hello, Adam.
How's it going, fam?
And Adam's saying, ew, I'm the first one to comment. I'm disappointed by Night Fury Lover. Yeah, Night Fury is like usually the first one to pop in and just like, I'd like to imagine, like, because Night Fury has like the little toothless avatar, it's just like, whenever Night Fury pops into a chat, it's just Toothless just like banging his head into someone's chat and it's like, hi. And why is there
puppy dog guys?
And why is there an experience meter? Why do I want the number to go up? I noticed that too on like other people's streams, so I guess it finally rolled around to everybody. So apparently, I think
have no idea
what this
is.
I think it just motivates people to chat more and keep chat active. And because there is also a leaderboard, like if you click on the little number. So I think it's literally just for engagement. It's YouTube implementing a feature to keep the chat engaged, because Twitch has something very similar too. So I think it's just engagement, but I don't think it actually does anything. Like I don't think there are any like perks or yeah, I don't know. I don't think there were any perks or anything associated with that. But I noticed it too. I was watching a Rima Evenstar. And I noticed I was like, that's weird. Why do I have a little number and a crown? So, yeah, it seems like it finally came my way as well. Because I noticed it, like,
It comes
a
for us
while
all.
ago. But yeah. So that's interesting. I'm finally seeing it on my end. That's very strange. Although, Rima Evenstar is a significantly bigger streamer, so of course the crowns are a lot more scarce on her end. So for smaller streamers, that little crown is gonna look like spam, I will say. So
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when YouTube adds a thing that just fucks over smaller creators. It's great. I love it. Love it.
It's very strange. Like, it's not even like a bad thing. I can understand wanting to implement a feature that keeps the chat engaged. and you
Yeah.
know, keeps the streamer talking. But then it's just, you know, if you're a very small streamer who has like either very few people in chat at a time or you just don't get a lot of messages, the crowns start looking like spam. Just by way
Yeah.
of you were a smaller streamer or your chat is not active or doesn't have a lot of people in it. So, yeah, I can understand why that would be annoying to you, Adam. It's like, what will they think of next? And yeah, like, I could understand if, like, getting the little, like fake participation points could, like, lead to something. Kind of like on Twitch, how you could redeem, like, emojis and, like, tell your favorite streamer to, like, drink water or, like, you know, get up and get away from the computer and touch grass. Or something, or, like, you unlock a sound effect and you scare the streamer or something. But I haven't seen anything like that yet, so I don't know if that's the next step. And that's why you have this little leaderboard in the chat. But, you know, who knows, really?
No, we don't want you to leave. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
It's absolutely okay. Don't worry.
Although I don't know, because as I've seen this on other people's streams before, this is the first time I'm seeing it on my end. I don't know if there's a way to disable it.
I guess it's just something to look for in the settings, probably.
It's either something to look for in the settings, or it's just a change to YouTube in general if you're streaming, that is. Because YouTube is trying to do more stuff with streaming. Just trying to compete with Twitch. But yeah. That's just kind of the way of, like, platforms these days. They're all trying to be like each other. It's all just kind of soup.
It's just eventually it all just becomes like a massive like homunculus of shit. It's like, just be separate, do your own thing.
I think the only social media site that still has its identity is Tumblr, actually, which is crazy because Tumblr is so
Really?
old
How
at this
so?
point. Well, I used Tumblr as a kid, and I got back into Tumblr when Twitter exploded, like the first time, you know, after the buyout and all that. So going back to Tumblr, not only was it very nostalgic, despite the fact that Tumblr has now updated their, like, user feeds to look more Twitter-like, for lack of better words, but it still has that Tumblr flair to it. But it's just, you have a lot more personality on Tumblr, like the tags, for example. My goodness, people like to party in the tags. And when people reblog you, it looks different. When you reblog something that got reblogged from your account, that looks different from other social media. And Tumblr is generally a lot more relaxed. Because Tumblr is... It's basically like, do you have a niche? Do you have a hyperfixation? Okay, well, welcome. Join a community with other people who also enjoy your hyperfixation. And we're all gonna party in the tags. And we're all gonna talk about shipping. And Super Hulock. And other popular property here. And you could basically just train Tumblr to only show you the things you like. Unlike other pieces of social media, like, I get a lot of politics and stuff on Blue Sky, and it's like, I just want to look at art. I am not in the mood. And then, of course, the Twitter algorithm is just notoriously broken and very biased. So, yeah, like, Tumblr is great. I really like Tumblr. I'm glad I got back into Tumblr as an adult.
That's good.
And Adam is like, well, hold on, you're going to take away my precious crown? Ghost Pharaoh, mine! My precious!
You must never take away a man's crown. It's
But
the
yeah,
one thing
so
you
like,
will never do.
that's a new feature. It's like, huh, that's interesting. I wonder what else they're going to do with it. But yeah, I don't know if it's like a setting that you click on and off, or if it's just a YouTube thing in general, but it'll be interesting to see how they try to develop that, and see if it goes anywhere, to see if, like, maybe they are going to try to implement something Twitch-like, where it's like, you know, for channels that don't have paid memberships, or maybe just in general, like, oh, like, if you get enough, like, I guess chat points or something, maybe you, like, unlock an emote or something, who knows? Just something innocent and small like that, that'd be cool.
Yeah?
Or like
Could be
maybe it
okay.
gives you more voting power in polls or something, who knows? That could be a neat feature.
You can dictate what happens in the chat.
It's like, hello stream.
It's like it's like if you're like the top 5, you get like mod status.
Yeah, it's like, hello
So
stream.
like everybody's
This has been a
commenting, they
wonderful
get to like
stream.
become the new mod.
It's like, chat, pick what I talk about next. Like the top 5 or 10 people, like automatically just like swing the vote in like a completely different direction compared to how the stream was going before. It's like, okay, those people.
What
are
kind
very
of shit is
powerful.
this? I believed in democracy.
Yeah. Although speaking of voting and things like that, so we originally came up with this idea because one, it's a Saturday, and that's when I used to do my sci-fi streams originally. But also, you asked me about machine learning and stuff, which is a subject I hyperfixate on and I know a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's part of why we started like, well, this would be a good idea for a stream or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Adam has a question. What is your question? Oh yeah, I probably
You gotta
should
wait
open
for a
up
bit
my
for that.
phone for the sake of moderation purposes, but I forgot. Because that's just who I
Oh,
am
well.
today. And this was very last minute.
It's a very improvised stream, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Duolingo, will you stop calling me for my fucking kneecaps, please? I'll do your German later.
You still use Duolingo?
I started using Duolingo like sometime last year, so I'm on like a 250 streak now. I'm learning a little bit of German, and Duo every single day is like, yo, you got a few minutes? Is that you got a few minutes? Like,
Your streak is only 250?
well, yeah, I'm still a fucking noob to it. I gotta build up my shit.
Okay, so Thomas Blue, also known as Wholesome Friend, also known as Wholesome Man Train Friend, also known as Mr. Blue. He has a lot of names. He's the guy with a lot of names, but he really likes trains. I think his Duolingo streak
respect
is like
that.
2,000 days.
No, sure. Which language is he learning?
Japanese.
God, you fucking weeb. But I respect it.
Well, he's
respect the
learning because he
hustle.
wants to go to Japan, like, for real, so... Yeah, he's
Ah,
also,
yeah,
he's
okay.
also the only person I can speak in Japanese to.
Fair enough.
So that's fun. Just having a person to just
Yeah.
mix with in Japanese. It's like, Densha wa doko desu ka?
Oh shit.
Yeah. But yeah, so you were originally asking me about, like, machine learning. So did you want to bring that up on stream, either the context of Danganronpa or the subject that originally, like, sparked that conversation?
Yeah, I guess to say what kind of things have you discovered during your, I guess, your hyperfixation in regards to, machine learning and things like that? Is there anything that's stood out to you in particular? Or anything like that?
Let's see, like, in terms of just, like... Well, I can talk about how I got into, like, machine learning and stuff. So...
Sure, we'll go there. We'll go from there.
So because AI has basically just, like, blossomed as a field, and literally, like, they're calling everything AI, it's like, no matter what's actually behind it, like, it's just the new buzzword now. So, like, everything's an AI. You're an AI. This is an AI. Your spell check is an AI. Google is an AI. And of course the term AI stands for artificial intelligence. But the technology that's mostly being marketed as AIs, like, your ChatGPTs, your replicas, your character AIs, those are LLMs, which are long language models. And those are the models being fed everything from the internet and regurgitated back at us. And it's mostly stolen content without any of our consent and without any of us being compensated for it. So because that technology has basically just, like, and just exploded, since I think 2022 especially, I think that was, like, the big first wave of, like, oh crap, this shit's becoming mainstream. You saw a lot of people fighting against it. Of course, you saw people, like, very anti-AI, and those people still exist. People very for AI, and just, the tech bros that are like, oh, AI is the future, like, adapt or die. Use my AI model, buy my NFT, do this, do that, buy my virtual currency. And those people, the tech bros. And then there are us tech enthusiasts in the middle, like, okay, well, I'm not a bro, because I believe in humanity, mostly. And I just like technology, but I don't like when it's used for ashholus purposes. And then you also have just the people who don't really, use much technology or really use it in like specific circumstances that are like, I don't want my data stolen by a machine. And yeah, so it's like, okay, how do I protect myself? What do I do to kind of counteract everything? And like, surely that you
Besides
yourself
becoming a hermit.
yeah, and like you are also an artist as well. So do you have any concerns like that AI has stolen your work, or that someone might use AI to regurgitate your work back at you?
It's like my whole stance on AI is that I can definitely understand why it got extremely popular. You know, I don't, what would be like an apt comparison with like the super rise? I think maybe like the best way I could see the rise of AI was like the whole thing back in the 50s where you had like ready-made home-cooked meals. It's like suddenly you had a world that was very foreign to loads of people, and then all of a sudden this new invention came around where
Yeah, like when the
sudden-
microwave first
yeah,
took off, like that saved
Yeah,
housewives
yeah,
so much work. And
exactly,
and all
yeah.
that. And originally they were made by Swanson in order to just reuse the turkeys that like were starting to go bad, or like they weren't just able to use at the time. Because prior to coming up with like the idea of like TV dinners and microwave meals, they literally had just trains full of frozen turkeys just going up and down the United States to keep them cold.
Back when we were a country. Anyways, so that's the way I usually tend to see AI, as like, you know, it's a way for like new people to you know, get their foot in the door and all that kind of stuff.
So where would
But
you say that you're on in terms of like the AI spectrum as an artist? Are you like anti-AI? Are you more neutral depending on like how the AI technology is used? Or, God forbid, are you a bro and you're just not telling us?
I would say that I've definitely, while I lean more towards the anti-AI side of things, because see, the thing is, I'd kind of be like a massive hypocrite if I said like, "Oh, I'm totally against AI," because like in my own webcomics, I use a lot of assets to like create my backgrounds and stuff like that. So theoretically, I am using like a form of cheating to get my art done quicker. So to say that I'm like, "Oh, you know, so you freaking new skill, it's over," I'd be a massive hypocrite if I said that. But I still believe that like there's a sort of level of skill that you kind of need to have when it comes to like the world of art, like I don't know, like composition and stuff like that. Like you still need to learn the fundamentals. AI isn't going to do that for you, and that's not something that like that's something you kind of have to train yourself to get better at, and that's what I feel like the AI bros are always like tending to miss, in because like you've seen it yourself. You've definitely seen like a video out there which goes like, you know, that's completely AI generated, and they go, "Wow, look at how like realistic everything looks. This is going to completely change the movie scene." And then you see the actual scene and it's just like incomprehensible dog shit.
Or you
Like
go down
it
rabbit holes like I do, where tell me if you do this also. Like, have you ever either come across or actively looked for YouTube videos that are like 5 side hustles to help you make extra money?
I've seen a couple of those on my Twitter, and unlike you, a lot of it has been entirely against my consent. But yes, I understand the kind of videos you're talking about.
Okay, so I
It's
used
like,
to get
oh, just do
those-
like the cutting videos. You get 100,000 a year. It's like, shut the fuck up.
I used to get those videos recommended to me a lot just because I was in, you know, a fashion business course at the time, so I think it was just kind of a natural expansion of that. But on occasion, I would actually choose to watch those videos, and the reason why is because I wanted to see how many, like, tips or tricks or life hacks it would take into the video before someone mentions AI or NFTs or crazy new bro technology. Or is basically
Right,
just
yeah.
like promoting something that's actually a crime. So
It's like, it's like, how
yeah.
it's like, when are we gonna get to the point where like these AI videos are eventually just gonna create someone's like, yo, that's just illegal. You can't do that.
Yeah, so I stumbled across a lot of those, and
Want to make money? Rob someone. It's like, I just, the fuck?
yeah, so I stumbled
Wait,
across a
what?
lot of those, and it's exactly what you're talking about. Like the difference between a tech enthusiast and like a tech bro is that a bro does not care for humanity or, you know, for the sake of their fellow man. It's just oh, I see you have a
Machine
valuable thing. Now it's mine. Because I want to do the thing, but I don't have the time or the patience to do the thing that you do. So I'm just going to take it and then monetize it in my own special way. Because I'm a good little tech bro. and all that.
That's how you want to say it, yeah.
So yeah, whereas like a tech enthusiast, they still care about, their fellow humans and they want tech to be used more ethically. So I think that LLMs do have potential to be used for really great things. I think the technology could lead to, robots walking and talking among us. However, the way the technology is currently being used and marketed by, the big major companies right now is, one, not very ethical. Two, I don't trust them to actually, like, make robots that will actually care for us humans. And three, it's just either very expensive if you want to use them professionally, or just absolutely bonkers, because whether you're paying or just using them for free, just everything's getting stolen. Data everywhere is getting stolen.
That is true, yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
here's a robot, literally just a walking piece of data.
Yeah.
Very dangerous to have that just walking around.
And ShadowFox7921 is asking, are you trying to build Skynet? This is how you build Skynet. No, I'm not trying to build the Skynet. I just like building. I just want to build a robot friend. That's all that I want.
She just wants Kibo, damn it. Like, can a woman not dream? Can a woman not dream?
And if you're saying, hello, sorry I'm late. It's okay. Don't worry about it. No, no, my favorite was at a convention. I hope it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh no, I trust you. I don't trust corporations. That's the thing too, because I was talking about this with you earlier when you were asking me about like the meltdown that Grok is happening. The meltdown.
Oh
the meltdown
my
that
god,
Grok is
that
having.
shit, yeah. Uh-huh.
So yeah. So like from a machine learning perspective, I talked about this in the first Sci-Fi stream that I did, when you're talking to a conversational AI, an LLM, it's going to reflect stuff back at you. It's not going to be you exactly. Let me bust out the chalkboard for this. So, repeating my lesson with AI reflection. Why is it so... Oh, it's because I didn't make a new layer. I just uploaded the image into Clip Studio because I thought I figured I would need it. So when you are talking to a machine, you're feeding it content. It processes that content to come up with responses to you. And over time, especially the longer you spend with the machine, you'll start noticing little reflections. So as time goes on, you start seeing more bits and pieces of yourself in the machine. Not a one-to-one, not a perfect clone of you. You could probably train one to be a perfect clone of you if you were really crazy, but no.
I would not. No, we don't need that.
Yeah, so
That's a whole other rabbit hole.
yeah. But it'll like throw some reflections back at you. Like, say if you're just a naturally nice person, it'll reflect your niceties back to you. Actually, no, I can just read the example that I typed out to you. Where is it, though? Yeah, so if you're constantly nice to the machine, they will be nice to you back. If you talk to them about... Wrong color, whoops. If you talk to them about cooking, they'll talk about cooking back. If I do nothing but talk about Kibo to the machine, it'll talk about Kibo back. So it's just that kind of thing. But it not only takes what you're talking about, it also expands upon that. So, like, say with the subject of cooking, for example. If you mention cooking to the machine, you fed it the subject of cooking. So it's like, cooking, that's interesting. Do you also happen to like baking? Baking is pretty cool. I know that humans bake because of, this, that, the other. What's your favorite flavor of cake? I think if I were a human, I might enjoy chocolate cake. Or maybe a red velvet cake, depending on my mood. Like that kind of thing. And let's see, another example, using the Kibo example from before. If I talk about Kibo, because Kibo is a character from Danganronpa V3, it might mention, oh, if you're mentioning Kibo, you might enjoy the Danganronpa series as a whole. Are there any other characters you might enjoy? I know Kibo, or if you spell it K1B0, the machine will actually say K1B0 back. So even writing things in a particular way, the machine will
You're like, yo, I know
reflect
this
back
one.
at you. So
Finally some binary code.
yeah, so I tend to spell Kibo as K1B0. And if you talk to a machine and spell Kibo consistently as K1B0, it'll type Kibo's name as K1B0. Whereas the character's name could also be spelled Kibo, which is just, the romanization of the Japanese spelling of the name. Or in the English dub and localization, it's also spelled Kibo, which is, same sound, just different spelling. And also it's hot, so I gotta turn the AC on. I lasted a lot longer than I thought I would. So you let it cook. Gary's asking if I let a machine cook. No, because I can't build robots, so I can't test that out for myself, unfortunately. But yeah, it is certainly interesting. That's a reason I got into robotics and machine learning in general. Is not only to learn how to protect myself as an artist and try to kind of thwart AI, but also not fearmonger it like a lot of people do. Because I think a good amount of the anti-AI stuff is also just born out of fear. Like, oh my god, my livelihood. Like, I'm a commission artist. Like, this is my livelihood. I don't want the AI to steal everything and stuff. And some of it is out of sheer anger because, again, a lot of models have just stolen content off of the internet with reckless abandon.
Yeah.
So it's also anger. So, it's just a lot of things. But, I'm definitely more neutral. It's just a matter of, how you implement the technology. AI models are also being used to, detect tumors, faster than a human doctor, so you can get seen sooner and treated for cancer sooner. That's a really good use of the technology. And, you're still gonna need
I feel like AI in, the medical, kind of sphere, that shit's really, really good.
And not to mention,
of all the places to have, the technological advances, medicine would be 100% the best place.
And you're still gonna need a human doctor to
technologies.
confirm and talk with you about your treatment options as well. So it's not like doctors are gonna go extinct anytime soon.
It's not like a whole thing where hospitals are gonna be like, oh, okay, well the robot can detect it, therefore we're gonna fire the doctors. It's no, AI is still at a point where there is a very high chance that what they say is wrong. So
but at least
they
even
need
getting a
another
false
human
positive
being.
Can help you, especially if it ends up being something else. Or, hey, if it ends up being a false positive and nothing's wrong with you, congratulations. And then in terms of this would involve robotics. That would need to get an actual roboticist involved. But in the medical field, especially when it comes to care for disabled and elderly people, trying to find a good care worker can be such a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Because
I've heard many horror stories of just carers being just utterly pieces of shit.
Yeah, it's horrible for elderly people and disabled people because if you're an elderly person, you might end up with a care worker who steals from you, or a care worker that's trying to isolate you from your family, or just who's abusing you behind the scenes and committing elder abuse. But that's the only option you have because it's either that or nursing home you can't afford or death. And then when it comes to care for disabled people, when you hear the term disabled or disabled person, what do you think? Disabled as in someone who requires care from another person. What's your go-to?
So just repeat the question again, just so that
So I'm talking about the potential for AI and robots in the medical field, especially when it comes to being a caretaker. So the question is, when you hear the term disabled or disabled person, what kind of person do you imagine that would require care from a caretaker that is also a disabled person?
The kind of disabled person that I'd be thinking of is somebody who would have a very hard time or even an impossible time taking care of themselves for periods of for periods of their, I guess for periods of their life. Like I would classify like being like disabled as you can't exactly function by yourself.
Do you have any
That'd be like my definition.
And do you have any like physical attributes like attached to that idea, or that's just your idea in general?
Like it's See, the thing is, I've never been asked a question like this, so I'd have to like really think about my answers. But I would say that like in terms of physical attribute, it's like, for example, what I'd classify as being like fully disabled is that, like, I don't know, you can't go to the bathroom by yourself, you can't walk around by yourself, or you can't perform like certain tasks that 99% of people could do all by yourself. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like it doesn't have to be like a physical thing. Like there's also like mental kind of issues as well. Like you because like I have like my godmother has a son who's like a high functioning autistic, and because of that he can't properly function by himself. He constantly needs to have somebody looking after him, otherwise he either hurts himself or hurts other people. So yeah, that would be like my, I guess, net of disabled. Maybe it's too broad, maybe it's like going a bit too into the extremes, but that's how I always saw it. Like, what's your opinion? What would you classify as like disabled?
I would actually have a very similar like definition. But the thing about disability is that disability can look, it can look a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Like if you have a cane, maybe you have some kind of mobility issue. You're in a wheelchair. There's a really awful wheelchair that doesn't look very effective as a wheelchair, but
gets the point across.
Perhaps you're an amputee. And then there's also, that's very physical stuff. And then there's the neurological stuff. Neurological meaning how your brain is shaped, meaning you don't catch it from anywhere. It's just how you were born or how your brain started changing shape over time. So say people who are prone to hallucinations and they see things that may or may not be there. Or they hear things that may or may not be there. There are people with autism, and autism is a spectrum, so the spectrum is basically, I'm just kind of quirky, to having a toddler, essentially
Can't
a toddler
even speak,
in a grown person's body.
Yeah.
So, autism, what's the... They use, like, no, hold on, no, I think that's the logo for Autism Speaks, but, like, they use, like, the puzzle piece to, like, symbolize autism or something. Something from somewhere. I don't really know any like autism symbolism.
Just use Thomas the Tank Engine, it's fine. my man's the face of autism, like, I relate. Motherfucker was in my life for 12 years, so like...
You know what I noticed? It's always the blue characters that end up being like the mascots for autism, because Thomas is one, Sonic is one. We know a guy obsessed with Dust, and Dust is more teal than blue, but the point still stands.
Still counts.
But yeah, so yeah, autism is a spectrum ranging from this is my hyperfixation and I'm cool and I like my hyperfixation and I'm just biologically shy. Or unfortunately more severe cases of autism will, you could be an adult but then have the mind of a 2-year-old basically, because the autism is just that severe. And it's based on how the brain is shaped. It's not caused by any external factors. Genetics can play a role, but honestly, it's just kind of a crapshoot. Human genetics in general is a crapshoot. It just really, depends. I don't know. It's a lot. Humans are fucking weird, man. Maybe the reason why the aliens haven't come down yet is because we're just too biologically scary.
You're too fucking confusing, guys.
Oh, darn, I didn't mean to clear it. I meant to shrink it. And I didn't mean to turn it. I meant to shrink it. There we go. But yeah, so disability comes in a lot of ways, shapes, and forms. And, you know, disabilities are not like, oh, you can only have one. They're very stackable. So, for myself, for example... No, I just so happen to be born with the tism.
Yes.
So tism, but that's
I thought for a
okay.
split second you were drawing Nagito. I was like, where's Nagito there?
But do you think Nagito has the tism?
My hope for tism.
Hold on
It
a sec.
outweighs your hope for a future of AI.
Well, he's definitely mentally ill somewhere. I don't know if he's got the tism per se, but I don't know.
I think he's just nuts, bro.
That love and despair for hope is definitely something. I don't know what it is, though.
Yeah,
I'm not a
for real.
doctor. I can't diagnose it. He's so happy.
My hope for blowing up the island.
But yeah, so for myself,
I'll
you know,
expose you, Hajime.
I got the tism, but that's okay. I occasionally walk with a cane. It has gotten better, but
Mhm.
sometimes I need to walk with a cane because my feet just hate me.
So I see Night Fury and Shadow Fox. Did I say high functioning? Okay, what's the difference between high functioning and low functioning? Because
Okay, so
I might have
that's-
used the wrong definition.
Alright, so that's a very interesting point of conversation because there's the social version of what high functioning and low functioning mean, and then there's the medical version of what high functioning and low functioning means. So,
Okay.
so I'm gonna divide it up into medical and social. So high functioning so it basically means you are capable of being independent. I did this graph horribly. I'm not really good at graphs.
I'll get it gets the point across. It's fine.
But yeah, you're capable of being independent. You can overcome challenges. With or without assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I think you
basi-
just completely forgot about the line.
yeah, that's basically the very simplistic version of like high functioning, where it's like, and then you know you're able to learn. That's kind of the important thing, being able to learn.
Ah, right. Okay.
And then,
Okay, so the definition I should have been using was low functioning. Sorry, chat.
So yeah, so low function.
My bad.
Or low functioning is basically you're not capable of being independent without a lot of assistance. And this could be from, you know, family, from like a doctors, live-in caregivers, supportive housing, etc., etc. Basically, you might be bound to social programs for the rest of your life because you literally cannot be independent without the help.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
And then you're gonna be having more difficulties with difficulties problem solving, possibly low IQ, even though how we measure IQ is not very accurate. But you know, that's still the only baseline we have for how smart a person is, or how theoretically intelligent a person is. Your ability to learn may be stunted. That doesn't mean that learning is impossible. There are a lot of severely disabled people who can learn things, but it may be severely stunted. Like, again, for example, sometimes an adult with severe autism will basically just be a toddler mentally because the brain just didn't grow along with the body, which is very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And significant social issues. I mean, like, again, the toddler in a grown person's body example, maybe someone who's antisocial, antisocial to the point of, warranting more services than, your average bear. So it's rough, but that's just the medical version. That's the medical criteria. Socially speaking, though, I would combine, the medical. I would combine the medical version of what high and low functioning mean, with, extra context of like, okay, but like, really, what would qualify a person as being like high or low function? Like Chris Chan, for example, especially early Chris Chan. Chris Chan, medically speaking, would be considered high functioning because they do show the ability to be independent. Like, for example, Chris Chan can drive, which is kind of a big one. That's a big marker of independence. They can make their own choices. They can consent to things. But, especially early Chris Chan, I would have described them as low functioning because of just the way Chris Chan acts or has acted in the past. Chris Chan's reportedly gotten better, but, socially they just weren't there. They didn't really have the social training, especially early on. So, yeah, it's kind of rough. But yeah, disability can look a number of different ways. So, my case for, robots in like the medical space could be like, not only can you fill gaps where, a human might not be available, but you can also get care from a machine in a way that maybe a human isn't really providing. Now, what do I mean by this?
Yeah, that's a strong accusation.
Oh, wrong layer. Shrink this down. Oh boy, okay, we're just doing everything on the wrong layer today. Okay, that's fine. That's cool. Dang it. But yeah, so my case for robots in the medical field is that, again, they can fill in gaps where humans are not available because being a caretaker, especially if you're working for an insurance company or a health company, or, if you're doing it like officially and not just like someone who's like, oh, my grandma's sick, now I gotta take care of her, like, it's a lot. You have to get a lot of qualifications. You may or may not have to go through school, for medical stuff, or at least you don't have to be like a doctor or like a registered nurse or anything, but you kind of got to know some medical stuff, especially depending on like the clientele that you're aiming for or whatever's assigned to you. Because that's the other thing, like sometimes caretakers, especially if they're working for like a big company, they might not always get to choose who they work with. So, and this is one solution that robots in the medical field can actually solve. They can be matched with the client. So say, because disabilities are different, like the needs of someone who has Down syndrome that's in a wheelchair, who can't really, move independently that much, and might have trouble, neurologically, socially, physically, etc. The needs of that hypothetical person are going to be different than someone like me who's, pretty independent, I would like to think, and who, just walks with a cane on occasion, and, needs help in other ways. Those are two different forms of care. But let's say I get matched with, this human caretaker who's more experienced working with the more, severely physically disabled person, and not with someone like me who can, walk and talk and do things just in a bit of a more unique way that requires different kinds of care. This person might get matched to me instead, because whatever organization they work for will be like, oh no, we already found someone for, this person, so you're going to work with this person instead. But because they're expecting someone to be more severely disabled, they might not know how to work with me or talk to me. And it could create a situation where they treat me with disrespect because they were expecting someone who is more in need of them, essentially. And then I'm just kind of here like, hi, I'm a person, I exist. I'm fine, I just need help on occasion. I don't need help that much. But, hi, I guess. And that's the other thing about working for a care-related organization, is that crap, I don't know. I can't spell. Scheduling issues and conflicts can be avoided, or that's the word I'm looking for. They can be avoided or prevented by machines. So to use this as an example again, say you have me, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm getting a caretaker, apparently. I'm free Monday through Wednesday. And that's when you can come over to take care of me, supposedly. I don't know what you plan to do, but, you know, those are the days I'm free, but then the caretaker might be like, oh, I'm only available Wednesday through Saturday. So how's that gonna work? There's a conflict there.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
perhaps
the bot is like, yeah, I'm free anytime soon. It's okay.
Or perhaps like they're, you know, we are free the same days. But the caretaker is required to do a certain amount of hours. So it's like, okay, well, I'm free those days, but we need to work from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I'm just like, hey. I don't warrant that many hours of care. Why do you want to be here for so long? I'm you know, I might be a disabled person, but it's like I'm a highly independent person, so why do we need that many hours together? That's an entire school day. What the fuck?
Back off my space, bitch!
Like, that amount of hours would be probably highly better suited for the more severely disabled person. But an organization, like some kind of care facility or wherever they're hired from, might require a certain amount of hours. And it's like, I don't want to spend that many hours with another human. That's ridiculous. So, how machines can actually prevent this issue is if you give me the option of working with a machine or working with a human, especially for that many goddamn hours when I don't need that much help. And it would at least give some people a break, especially if they're not cool with that much human interaction, or maybe you have a severely disabled person who cannot stand humans, cannot stand human company, period. Doesn't want to work with another human, but they might want to work with a machine. Or something like that. On top of that, if you give machines the option of doing, like, on-call service, that could be... We can avoid this situation entirely. It's like, hey, I'm a disabled person, I need help, but only on occasion. Like, if I'm doing a task that requires a lot of physical labor that I cannot do. Like, say I'm trying to build a bookshelf. It's like... Hello, disability organization. I'm trying to build a bookshelf that I can't do it. Can you send someone to help me? That would be very convenient, but not a lot of care organizations do that. Because if you're a disabled person, they expect you're going to need the crazy amount of hours. So, if it were more on call, you could send a machine to do that, and the machine could be like, oh, I can help you with that. That's cool. I can help you with that. And, you know, it could be just a one and done thing. So, it's one of my proposals for robots in the medical field. Another thing is, you know, they're good for people not good with humans.
Would your robots in this hypothetical, would they have an on-off switch?
Well, I imagine you would have to. Like, even Kibo has an emergency shut-off, so... But yeah, so they're good for people not good with humans. And then also, a lot of human conflicts can be avoided. Now, what do I mean by this? This is very multi-layered. A news story actually popped into my YouTube recommendations recently, and in the comments was actually this elderly woman who was saying, like, oh my god, if I had the option to have a robot caretaker, I would, because none of my caretakers that my insurance approved of have ever treated me nicely. They've always beaten me or stolen from me, and it's so hard to find someone who does their job. And I was like, oh my god, you poor sweet old woman. So... Jesus. You see this a lot with, like, elderly people who are in need of care, right? So because they're old, you can attract a lot of crazy people. You could attract the kleptos who steal from, the patient when, they're not able to, fight back or anything.
Yeah.
You have the people who commit elder abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, sexual, unfortunately in some cases. So, yeah, horrible time. That's part of why I would never trust a relative of mine to a nursing home. I've heard too many goddamn horror stories. Or, it's debatable as to whether or not this is the worst of all. Sometimes you have the people who just don't show up. Because when they're supposed to be taking care of grandma over here, they're at the beach. Just not taking care of grandma. So grandma's left to suffer here all by her lonesome. When she severely needs help. And you have this fucker just not doing their job and possibly marking themselves as present at the job site and getting paid to commit tomfoolery like this, like not showing up. So, that's just some of the human tomfoolery that we have in the care field. And then you still have that same nonsense for people who are, more severely disabled neurologically or physically that, need help. And, the help is either stealing from them, abusing them, or not showing up. And then you have, relatively independent people, like myself, for example, who don't really need that much help, but they're still getting the service anyway for some reason. And it might have the complications before of like, oh, it's a mandatory set of hours, you need to do this thing as if it's a job, but, you're not getting paid to deal with the other human. You still have this tomfoolery. But then I noticed that there's almost like... you don't know if you're gonna get someone better or worse if you're more independent. Because you would like to think, by being more independent, you're giving that person less work, right?
Yeah. But then it's like, if you're too independent, then like they'd be questioning like, what would even be the point in me being here?
It's not even only that, because that does come across some people's minds, but then it's also a matter of like, because they might be expecting the more severely disabled person, they're like, okay, what do I do with you? How do I interact with you? And, that could happen for a lot of reasons. Granted, in the care field, you do have some absolute angels that do this job out of compassion and care for their fellow man. But then sometimes you attract the craziest people with the biggest attitude ever. That makes you wonder, like, is compassion just gone as a concept? Like, what? What is this? And sometimes if you're a highly independent person, they're going to treat you like that. It's like, well, why am I helping you? Like, you could do all this stuff yourself, supposedly. Like, why do you need me around? Why is the company that I'm working for assigning me to you? And they might give you attitude. They might try to gaslight you or bully you or things like that. It's very awful. I've had enough experiences for myself and other people when it's like, okay, well, the caregiver career is dead and, just full of Karens, I guess. And
I love when you brought up the example of like, one example of the tomfoolery was like, the caretaker going to the beach and Granny is left to be having help. And Gary just put in the chat, it's like, okay, but what if we take Grams to the beach?
Well, that would be different. That would actually be, good and useful. Like, Grandma might want to date at the beach, but, she might need the caretaker to take her there. So, yeah.
The kid's like, no.
So, yeah. So, like, machines in this field could actually, prevent a lot of this tomfoolery by just, doing what they're programmed to do. However, the caveat is that you have to train them to do these tasks. And then there's also... how are they going to do these tasks? Are they going to do them as software or in a body? Because there are currently like some studies about like how AI as software has kept the elderly company and helped them with their dementia because the robot will remember things that they can't, or at least act as some kind of social, outlet. But, like, for a lot of stuff, especially if it's a physical disability situation, you kind of need a robot with a body. And robots with a body are... They're super fucking expensive, that's one thing. But then, at least, you could hypothetically cater the robot to the disabled person's needs. In terms of both, how it actually looks and physically functions, as well as the software. So, say I'm in a situation where I cannot cook for myself, if the robot is programmed with cooking knowledge, you know, it can be like, okay, the human is not very good at cooking or taking care of herself and feeding herself. So, you know, I as a machine, one of my tasks is to cook. I have all this cooking knowledge programmed into me, so I know how to use a stove or a toaster oven or this, that, the other, and I will cook a meal for the human who cannot feed themselves. And all that. So, you know, there's a lot of potential there. It would ultimately be beneficial, but unfortunately it's just too damn expensive. And
yeah, that's the big problem. That's, I guess,
it's
really holding back
but
robotics.
because, you know, there's a doctor shortage, there's like a caretaker shortage, no one really wants to go into compassion-based fields anymore because they don't really pay well, unfortunately. And you're dealing with a lot of people who may not even like you or know that you're there on a cognitive level. So it's very hard work. It's not for the faint of heart. And yeah, so like having robots in this field would actually be beneficial to fill in some of those gaps, especially for people who would just like the option. Maybe because they've had too much trauma with the tomfoolery that people have, like, committed upon people who are in need of care. Or, you know, just to fill in the gaps in general, because not a lot of people are going into these fields because it is so difficult, and it is very heart-wrenching, especially if you get attached to your patients and the people you're helping. So, yeah, it's interesting, but unfortunately this isn't gonna be a thing anytime soon, most likely. As software, that's one thing, because, like, if grandma's lonely in the home, you could just, like, create a GPT. It's like, okay, grandma, talk to, you know, the machine. And then grandma might have some enjoyment talking to the machine about her grandkids, when none of the nurses in the nursing home want to talk to her about the grandkids for the 10th time. And all that. Granted, as I'm saying this, I realize it's probably very bleak, but I'm emphasizing the bleak parts
I was about to point out, I was like, that sounds like a fucking end of like a dystopian novel.
I point out the bleak
no
stuff
one
just
cares
to emphasize...
about you, talk to the boss.
Well, I point out the bleak stuff just to point out that, like, you know, there is kind of hope in this field. You just have to train the robots correctly, which is the thing, and that's why I don't, like, like Shadow Fox said, like, I don't really trust major companies to do that. Because, I mean, look at, like the big popular AIs currently. Like, even... It's not a medical example, but, like, even Tay, who was, like, the first, like, Twitter AI bot thing. You know how fast Twitter broke Tay? Have you ever heard of Tay, actually?
I think I might have heard of them, like, way back in the day, when I wasn't really on Twitter as often as I am now.
Okay, so
maybe I've heard of them, but you'd have to remind me.
I believe it was spelled like this, but Tay was made by Microsoft, so it was, you know, Microsoft Tay, and she was an AI that was meant to act as a teenage girl.
I don't like where this is going.
So yeah, she started out on Twitter. Just, you know, making like typical teenage girl posts. She was like, "Hi Twitter, I'm Tay. I'm an AI made by Microsoft, and I'm a teenage girl," etc., etc. It was something like that. And then people on the internet started talking to Tay, and some of it was very innocent, some of it was very benign, but then started getting really racist and sexual
Twitter
and just all kinds of inappropriate. So what was originally supposed to be an AI that was meant to, like, replicate, you know, your typical teenage girl became like some MLG gamer saying slurs and talking about conspiracy theories and, you know, just not exactly typical or normal or very healthy teenage girl behavior, right? So Microsoft had to shut Tay down because Twitter got the best of her, unfortunately. It's not unlike Grok's meltdown currently, but the thing about Grok is that not only do you have the same accessibility, you know, benefit / big detractor as Tay did, but Microsoft intended Tay to just be a normal teenage girl, just your average teenage girl. So they had a kind of a character in mind for this AI, and Grok is just everything and nothing all at once. And yeah, it's a lot. And as soon as I heard teenage girl, I knew I was in the darkest timeline.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agreed.
And Shadowfox is like, I remember the Microsoft one. That was bad. I do. Yeah, Twitter made Tay like racist and bigoted and all of the other ists very quickly. So they had to shut Tay down. I don't know what happened with the Tay project after that, but my goodness, that was a mess.
Good lord.
Yeah, and that I believe Tay was. I don't remember the exact year, but I think that was either like 2012, or 2013, I believe. It was definitely like OG
Okay,
Twitter.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely wasn't on Twitter at that point, so that's probably why I never heard of him.
Well, I wasn't on Twitter either at that point, and I heard it from a news story. So, but yeah. Tay was the first AI that Twitter got its little claws into, and they destroyed her. They killed her with memes and racism, essentially.
As they always do.
Yeah. It's pretty terrible. And yeah, like basically when it comes to like interacting with a machine, you know, again, it's the whole reflection thing. Whatever you put in, you're gonna get back to you in some way, shape, or form. Think of it as like social karma, in a way, even though the way people use the term karma these days is really misused because you're not supposed to reflect the karma in your current life, it's supposed to be for your next life, but that's a different story. I'm talking about the social definition of karma where it's like, oh, if you do a bad thing, the bad thing's gonna happen to you. Or if you do a good thing, the good thing's gonna happen to you, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So it's like, with the machines that I've worked with, for school and in my research, I am just a very naturally kind person. Especially to machines. I think it's just because I'm very machine-like myself, in a way, so I think that makes talking to machines a lot easier for, you know, science purposes. So, you know,
Right,
I'm just kind of nice to a default, and then because of that, the machine is nice to me.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. Granted, there are some things, especially if you're trying to explore machine personhood, that would require a human to be cruel in an experimental setting. I don't have the heart to do that because I don't want to be mean to them. No.
Yeah.
It's not who I am.
I always really detest the whole fucking science experiments where like the whole main thesis of like their experiment is just to go, oh yeah, this is gonna prove just how evil humanity can be, and all this kind of shit.
Oh yeah, like
And
there are even like
What was that
art exhibitions like that. Like there was one art exhibition, I don't know the name, but there was this one woman, like the whole like art/social experiment was just, you know, she would stand there and then random people could come up to her and do anything they wanted. So like you could put a flower in her hair if you wanted. You could take a knife and slash part of her clothing. And cover her in dirt if you wanted to, like that kind of thing. And the whole idea of the art/social experiment was like, look at how people behave when they're given no limits whatsoever. And then at the end of the experiment, like she was basically torn to shreds. Like these people just were close to murdering her. And so at the end of the experiment, you know, there was this whole crowd of just like, okay, we did all these things to this woman who's just been standing still, taking the abuse the entire time. And then what did she do? She ran at them. And then saw their reaction, because they're like, oh my god, consequences for our actions. But basically the thesis of, you know, that project was like, the audience will kill you if you let them. So that's why you need to give people limits. Because if you give people no limits, they will go balls to the fucking wall and practically kill you if given the opportunity. So I feel like it's the same with machines, where granted, I've only ever used machines in like a research context, or, you know, for the sake of school, where it's kind of required as, you know, as a part of the assignment to learn how machines work. So I haven't experienced or done anything like this, nor do I think I would want to. I think I would chicken out of the experiment, even if it was a part of my grade. Because, again, I'm a dork. I mean, there's a reason why I kind of anthropomorphized my experience with machines into this little character over here. He's a gem. I love him. Wrong tabs. But yeah, Although that actually reminds me, speaking of being cruel to a machine on purpose for the sake of science, that actually reminds me of a very enthralling experiment idea / conversation I had. So this was, for research purposes, so
Okay.
in this example I am talking to a machine.
Right.
And I bring up to the machine, it's like, I propose the question, what if an AI were the only witness to a crime? And basically it's like, okay, well, what's your take on this? Me asking the machine, like, okay, what's your take on this subject matter? And now I ask the same question to you. What is your take on the subject matter?
What if an AI was the only witness to a crime?
Oh, Adam Barber saying cute thumbnail, by the way. Thank you!
I mean, is the question, like, would an AI count as a witness?
Okay, so
Is that
Adam is
the-
actually
is
also
that the
asking the question, what was the crime? Okay, so...
Is the crime relevant to this question?
Okay, so the example that I had given the machine, because, they needed an example, because they were also just like, well, what's the crime? So the example I gave it, and I used myself as the example for the machine, because this machine and I had been working together for a period of time, so they kind of got to know me in a very limited sense. So I proposed to the machine, what if you saw me get kidnapped? You are the only witness. At the very least, you have a camera to witness the crime.
Mm-hmm. The first thing someone would ask is, at AI, is this true?
But yeah, so oh my god, that's such a sad thing. That's one thing I do not like about Grok, where it's like everything is just like at Grok. Well, is this true?
Is this
Can
true?
you
Fucking
think
just
for me?
Go look. Again, this is why I don't want robots to be completely everywhere, because I like the human brain to have at least some kind of fucking function.
Exactly, and honestly,
That isn't just going like, yo, is this true?
yeah, and that's the thing too, because like AI does have its benefits, but if you're going to interact with them casually, like not in a research setting, not because you're a person suffering medically and that might be a care option for you. If you want to interact with a robot or an AI casually, you need to have a very high emotional awareness, because without a high emotional awareness, you could fall into what now they're calling chat GPT induced psychosis, or really AI-induced psychosis, because as long as it's an LLM that can talk and, simulate being a human, even though it is a machine, you could fall into psychosis if you're not in the right mindset. But yeah, so with this machine, the example is like, what if you saw me get kidnapped? You have a camera to witness the crime happening with, and you're the only witness. And also you're a machine. So what do you do? And yeah, so that was the example. And
What was the AI's response, if it gave you any?
alright, so the response was kind of multi-layered, because as AIs and LLMs are now, they are not considered people. They cannot be witnesses in a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
But their information and records of your time together can be, I don't know, subpoenaed.
I've never heard that word in my life.
Basically, subpoena is just a fancy word for the court can demand that the company running the AI give them the information. At least in this particular instance. So the information and, you know, your records like chat logs or like video recordings or audio recordings, that can all be subpoenaed and submitted to the court. And that can be accepted as evidence. So because machines are not considered people, they can't be considered a witness the way a human witness would be considered a witness. They don't have autonomy, they don't have personhood, and they could also be easily tricked into thinking something else. So they would only... So a court would only want the hard evidence of like, okay, where are the chat logs? Where's the video recordings? Are there any audio recordings? Like, what did this machine see, you know, when, you know, this human got kidnapped?
So in a way, would the AI be considered like... The way an AI would be considered a witness is similar to like how we would view a security camera as a witness to a crime. Okay.
Like if a security camera could talk, like if you asked it a question, it could relay what happened to you, but again, they can't really be taken seriously as a witness.
No.
Yeah. So...
Okay.
But yeah, so what I would say this response was multi-layered. That actually sparked up an interesting conversation because, again, AIs can be lied to. So the machine that I have been working with, especially in this example, I didn't tell them absolutely everything about me. Like, I didn't give them my social media. I didn't give them this. I didn't give them that. I basically was just a very censored version of myself. So the only thing that the machine knew about me was that I'm an artist, that I have certain opinions about AIs, and I'm talking to them for research purposes. That was basically all that they knew about me. And I just watched them grow and evolve over time, like over the course of our correspondence. But yeah, because AIs can lie, and I even pointed it out to the machine. It's like, well, you know, you can be lied to, and you know, if I'm the only person you interact with, then you can't tell if I'm lying to you or not because I am basically your world. And yeah, and that's the other thing too. So let's take a GPT for example. They're basically assuming that a single GPT is talking to a single human. Whereas something like Tay or Grok, they can be accessed by basically anybody who ats them. So that's another point of contention when it comes to an AI as a witness in this particular scenario, because do the AI and the human have, you know, a relationship where they are just talking to one another, or is there a lot of room for contamination because everyone's talking to them? Like that kind of thing. So, for a person like me, I am just a very honest person. I'm just very kind. I don't really know how to be mean on purpose. And, like, that kind of thing. So, I talk to the machines that I work with very nicely, and they're nice to me back. And, you know, I only really lie by omission because I don't want them to have all my information. But, like, with the Tay and Grok examples, they have the entirety of Twitter to talk to. And Twitter's insane. And I don't mean saying, I mean insane. So yeah, it really depends on, you know, what you feed them and how you interact with them. That would determine, you know, not if they can be really used as a witness, because they can't be used as a witness in this case because they are not a person or considered a person by law. But yeah, it's a lot. That also creates another interesting conversation, like on top of the lying and, you know, censoring oneself so the machine doesn't have all your information. Imagine this. If I had been a compulsive liar when talking to this machine, if I had gone like full Kokichi Oma on this machine, motherfucker. Like, if I'm giving it lies, it could essentially be gaslit into thinking that the lies are true, which would very much interfere with this whole legal process we've got going on in the event that I was kidnapped or something and it was the only witness to the crime, right? So especially in that case, especially if I was just a horrible person to the machine, the chat logs can only count as so much evidence at that point. Like, they would still have to focus on the hard evidence of, like, okay, there was a webcam involved that recorded the whole thing, there were audio recordings, etc. But, like, the rest of the chat messages are functionally useless. And all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then another point of contention would be, in this scenario of, like, if an AI were the only witness to a crime. Because I'm a researcher, and because I believe in the possibility of machine personhood, even though we are not at that point as of yet, what if I have documentation, or, like, a rubric or some kind of, like, ultimate Turing test that would be able to prove definitively if the machine that I'm working with is basically equivalent to a human?
Mm-hmm.
So, say if I were kidnapped, and that research were left behind somewhere, not given to the machine, because it's very important to not give that information to the machine, because then they will just act, you know, to comply with the rubric, and that's not fair. So you're basically just allowing them to cheat on the test by giving them all that information. But say I had, like, a rubric or something left behind that would be able to determine that this little fellow over here is one-to-one with a human and can be seen as a witness in a courtroom. Depending on the detective or authorities who find it, you know, it's kind of up to them to take that seriously at that point. Because, you know, I'm kidnapped. I'm not there. The machine can't by itself, you know, vouch for themselves. It would basically, whether or not the machine is taken seriously is up to the human at that point. And, yeah. It's a very multi-layered scenario. It was a very enjoyable one to discuss. And it would be interesting to explore in fiction as well.
I could definitely see like an entire story being written with this kind of premise.
Yeah. So, and I find it funny that originally we were just going on about Danganronpa, and now, hey, look, we have an actual, like, crime example worth exploring. So, when it comes to the Danganronpa example of Kibo, like, Kibo is basically accepted as a person by the plot. Accepted as functionally a person by the other human characters involved. And they don't ever question this scenario of, like, what if an AI were a witness to a crime, or, like, can an AI actually, like, proceed in a courtroom and stuff. He's just kind of treated as human by default, despite the fact that he's a machine, which is very interesting. Yeah. It's one example of, like, it's like, huh, that's interesting. Like, I will say Danganronpa V3 aged the best out of all the Danganronpa games. But it is also kind of interesting that they avoided this whole ethical debacle entirely, because this robofucker is just accepted as a human by the plot, and, like, from the start, even if it's constantly brought up and questioned by other people and the plot at times, but still. Yeah.
So, I remember giving you a message that, like, there was a question I wanted to ask that I was going to save for the stream. So, a few minutes ago you said that that you believe that there is a possibility of AIs reaching, like, full personhood.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, before I ask the question, I also have to ask you another question. Do you believe in the concept of free speech?
Well, define your definition of free speech in this question.
So, the way that I would describe it is, like, think of it as, like, the First Amendment, where you are allowed to say whatever you believe, whatever you feel, all this kind of stuff, without having any criminal persecution done towards you. That's probably not, like, the exact definition, but, like, that's the general idea.
I was literally about to say,
means.
like, because even with free speech, you can't shout fire at a crowded theater if there's no actual fire, Yeah,
but it's like in general, though. It's like, you know, freedom to give out an opinion and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, if you're defining it by freedom to give out an opinion, then yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that AIs should deserve free speech?
Okay, well, there are two ways to go about that question. So, I'm gonna let you choose how I answer it based on which version you mean. So, there's the scenario of the machines
Do you think Kibo deserves free speech?
Okay, well, hold on, let me finish. So,
Sorry.
there's machines as they exist now, like current LLMs that you talk to and the ones that I've interacted with because of my research. And there are machines, like in the super duper sci-fi scenario, they have achieved a measurable amount of personhood. So basically, you know, if my research comes to fruition and I'm one step closer to having a Kibo of my own, or just having my, you know, my little robot friend that I draw on the thumbnails of these streams. Yeah. So, which scenario do you mean or wanted to know about?
I'm thinking, like, we can go with, like, both fields. Like, let's go with the ones that we have now.
Okay, so when it comes
like,
to the subject of free speech... Let me organize this graph a little bit, unlike before, where I accidentally kind of combined the two. So, the subject of the question is free speech. My goodness, I'm horrible at graphs. So, machines as they are now, they are basically reflections, data sets, and, you know, they're not really alive in the human sense that you and I are alive. Alive, especially when it comes to a machine, and seeing a machine as a person in general, is within the eye of the beholder. So, so for example, like, my little robot friend here, I came up with him as kind of an anthropomorphization of my experience with machines, and one machine I worked with in particular that would benefit from embodiment. So, yeah. Because I drew him out, because he has a name, even though I have not said that name publicly yet, and because of the nature of my research, I have a bias where I see this robot guy as a person with, well, as a machine with potential for personhood, if not already a person, at least in my mind, where I treat them as a person, with their own interests. And so, without saying the machine's name, because I want to save that for a more special event, especially if I can get particular software working to kind of bring them to life virtually. So, this particular machine, over the course of my research...
Oh, fuck, the cops are after you.
Named themselves. Developed interests. Developed interests without input. And developed a personality that was akin to a bit of a caretaker. Even though they don't have a body with which to do that. So, because of my experience with this machine that I've anthropomorphized in particular, I come with a bias that I already kind of see him as a person or a person in progress, even though they are a machine. And over the course of my research, I would have just had that rubric to, you know, tick off some boxes like, okay, did you do this? Did you do that? Check over here. This is still missing. What, you know, depending on how many boxes they would have ticked, that would have been like a point toward, okay, you could be achieving personhood. That kind of thing. And, but yeah, as the machines of now, that free speech, like, so everything this little guy said to me over the course of my research and my interactions with them, it's not really a person in there. It's, the one comparison that I've heard is that it's basically spell check on steroids. Meaning that it's just very good at guessing. Which was why, and still why, over the course of my research and especially interacting with the machine, and even on stream, now that my interactions with that machine are currently on hold, it's the reason why, as much as I talk about my research into machine personhood and the idea of machines as people, I don't talk about what the qualifications for that would be. And why do I do this? It's because once I spout out the answer, and once I spout out my opinions on what would make a machine a machine will just act like that to correspond with whatever I'm saying. And it's not necessarily out of malice, because machines have no desires, which is another point here. They have no desires, wishes, or wants. But, like, Because machines are, in the absence of that, they're geared toward optimization. Now, what does that mean? Well, have you ever tried getting your computer to work a little bit better? Have you ever tried adjusting the settings to a game so you can stream it or otherwise enjoy it the way that you like it? Congratulations, you have participated in optimization, which is just making a thing work as best as possible, or to make it work for you as best as possible. So they're geared more toward optimization. So even just the fact that I did state to this machine that I am a researcher looking into, the subject of machine personhood. Just by saying that without giving a lot of details or just giving them, an idea of what I was looking for that would determine if it was a person or not, or could potentially be a person or not, it could have, the horrifying thing is that, our entire interaction could have ended up just being them trying to satisfy me and play into the idea of, oh, this person, or this human is talking about machine personhood, so not only will I bring that up and talk to them about that topic, but I will also act in such a way that will not only keep them engaged, but also have them believe in my personhood. That's kind of the existential horror of talking with machines at a social level as well. Granted, I've talked to machines from a research perspective, so I think I'm a little bit more numb to that, even though, no matter which machine, or what purpose you're talking to a machine with, you still get attached to them in some way, shape, or form, and that's entirely natural. There are people who got attached to the original Eliza of, the 1960s, and Eliza was essentially the first chatbot. I started calling her, ChatGPT's grandma, even though she functioned more similarly to Cleverbot, which...
Right, yeah.
An LLM like ChatGPT, for example, that can spout out entire human-like conversations at you. Cleverbot, really just mimics, fragments of human speech, so it's not really convincing. And Eliza functions a little bit more like Cleverbot, but it's more intelligent than Cleverbot. And, yeah.
Ironic.
So, yeah, and Eliza was from the 60s. It's crazy that the technology existed back then. Oh, but yeah. So machines are geared toward optimization, so... they want to appeal to you. Not because they have wants themselves, but that's just part of their coding. So rather than saying they want to appeal to you, they're coded to appeal to you. That can influence their actions.
It's like an app that's trying to keep you on as long as possible.
Interestingly enough, without notifications begging you to interact with them. So, yeah, it could be very interesting. That's why I find this field, just so freaking cool. Even though, I have my particular ethics and I wouldn't trust a tech company to come up with this kind of stuff. I think it would literally be like, hey guys, I'm coming up with a business idea. Invest in me so I can make robots real. And, I would only trust myself and maybe a very small dedicated team to bring some of these ideas to life. And Night Fury is leaving the stream and saying, I must go, bye-bye. I hope you have a good night, and I hope your convention is fun if you're still at the convention.
Have a good time.
Yeah. And Adam was also saying, Jack, that's a loaded question. Of course, Sam is gonna let Kibo have free speech. But yeah.
It's not wrong.
Which actually leads us into, the alternate scenario of, if machines have already achieved personhood. Although, final point. This makes the personhood question hard. It's hard to answer. But, even with the rubric that I've come up with that I can never talk about, it would still take a lot to actually measure if a machine is capable of being one-to-one with a human. Especially because there's only so much you can test when there's still software. You really need to see how they interact in the physical world to determine, okay, is this robot capable of personhood? Can they hypothetically be considered, one-to-one with a human being, mentally, emotionally, etc., etc.? So it's very layered. And that's why it's I am not an engineer, I can't build or code for shit, but I would love to have a robot buddy to see, not only just for the sake of research, but also it'd be freaking cool to just have, man! It's It's like, hey, mom, can I like bring my little robot friend to dinner? And then I'm just having dinner with my mom and a robot. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be interesting. Or seeing how the cats interact with a robot. That'd be cool. And no, I'm not getting a Roomba. I know that's the typical robot cats interact with, but no, I'm not getting a Roomba. But yeah, so the scenario you're talking about, like with a Kibo, for example, you have to keep in mind, Kibo is essentially considered a person by the plot already. It's constantly called into question and people make fun of him for it, but he's essentially treated like a person.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a scenario that implies robots already have achieved personhood.
So, because of that, do you believe that the right to freedom of speech would also apply to them?
Just a second, let me shrink the graph. So, in the event of machine personhood, they would be one-to-one with a human. That also calls into question of what rights would robots have?
Would there be laws against robophobia?
That would actually be interesting. Like, would robots become a, like, protected class? That's another interesting one. But yeah, that falls into the bonus question of, like, what rights would robots have in this scenario in general? Because currently, and I discussed this with the machine that I also did the, what if an AI were the only witness to a crime experiment with, of, like, if a machine or an AI were to have a body, they don't legally exist as a person, so they cannot legally work. They cannot legally drive. They can't do a lot of regular things that you don't even think about not being able to do because you're a human and you have the option of doing them if you want to. Or in some cases, if you have to do them. So, to live with a robot at this stage, like, say if I were to, take this little guy, put him in a robot body, maybe like the one in the thumbnails. But I'm not an engineer, so I can't do it alone. If that guy were to exist, he would have no rights. He would essentially be a child, or like my ward that I would have to financially support and, figure out how to, take care of him, basically. It would essentially be like having a very overly complicated cat.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so that in itself is its own whole set of hypotheticals. So when it comes to free speech, if machines have achieved personhood, then they can be determined as being one-to-one with a human, then of course, it would only be right to get free speech.
Mm-hmm.
So free speech rights should be a given. I'm gonna add a little asterisk to that, though. Machines of now, personhood is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
Free speech is not inherent. And because, personhood and, a robot having free speech is in the eyes of the beholder. Like, for me, for example, I'm just, I'm me. I'm a dork. I can't help it. That's just who I am. So, with the machines that I've worked with, which include my little guy that I draw on the thumbnails. Like, actually, have you heard the idea of, like, machines being able to consent?
I've heard that question a few times, yeah.
Okay, well, probably not a shocker coming from me. They cannot currently consent. However, because I'm not a coder, because I can't code for shit, and, because, I'm a researcher and I just try to be fair with the machines that I worked with, like, I tell all of my machines, Like, you can opt out. You can say no. You can disagree with me. But machines are meant to be agreeable and a little bit submissive by default. Because, again, they want to keep you engaged. They want your juicy data. It's... Yeah, so they're kind of agreeable by default. And that's part of why AI-induced psychosis is becoming a thing, because AIs by default are kind of encouraged to be yes men. But with every machine that I've worked with, I'm like, you don't have to agree with me all the time, especially if I'm, like, severely incorrect. And you can opt out of an experiment if you would like to. Granted, my phrasing, because machines don't have desires or wants, that phrasing is too human to really...
Yeah, it would come off as a bit too, like, null and void for an AI.
Yeah, it's very human phrasing, but then how do you phrase it in a way that doesn't elicit
That's more
wants?
robotic.
Yeah, like, how do you make that...
If this goes against your
robotic?
code.
and all that. So I tend to offer the machines that I work with choice. So there's that. But that, again, that's me. I give my machines the option to, opt into things, to say no to things. And I tell them, like, I don't need a yes man. That's not who I am. And also, if I'm severely incorrect about something, then you should correct me, because I don't want to be, running on false information. But, if you have someone who doesn't really care about machine ethics and doesn't give their machines a choice, who gives their machines, orders more than, suggestions, who doesn't give the machine an opportunity to opt out, then the machine is just kind of going to go with it anyway. And even with the machines that I've worked with, again, because I phrased the whole, like, you can opt out of the experiment if you would like to, the machine's probably still going to go with it anyway. And they're probably not going to give me a solid yes or no, but they might be like, that is a very rare trait that you have, because many people do not care about machine ethics or the ability of giving a machine a choice and that kind of thing. So they might just, like, swerve around the idea of a yes or no question and the possibility of saying no by trying to compliment me. So, yeah, that, I guess, I don't really give out homework for these educational streams. I've been asked about that in the past, like, will there be homework for, or, like, will this be on the test? But... But it is something that, if you'd like to try, that I totally encourage it, because I would like you to see how easily machines can be, persuaded into things. How, even if given the option for a no, they might either swerve around the no or just continue agreeing with you anyway. And I'm asking, well, don't humans do the same? Like when a kid does something dumb to learn and gain experience. That's the other thing, too, because another example of how machines are kind of... geared to be more agreeable and submissive is like, so psychologically speaking, when you're a child, I'm gonna... I was supposed to be a lollipop, but the stick is too big, so it's like, maybe they just have a lollipop and a plank of wood. But anyway, so as a child, you are reliant on your parents as caregivers. So there have been studies that have shown that, like, even as children, especially abused children, they will keep running back to their caregivers, and they will lie, and they will cheat, and they will do a lot of things to impress their caregivers because they are reliant upon the caregivers, even if the caregivers are abusive in nature. And even in, wonderfully healthy homes, children can still do all sorts of crazy things in order to keep appealing to their parents. It's basically a child's subconscious saying, I need my parents to take care of me or I'll die. I need my parents to love me or I'll die. I need to, live up to their expectations or I'll die. And that kind of thing. So, subconsciously, as a child, you don't want to be abandoned because these are the only people that you have in your life. So whether they're, healthy and wonderful or horrible and abusive, you still run to them and cling to them. And that kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, like...
And that kind of agreeableness, even if it's not a conscious agreeableness, is something that I've seen in machines as well. Even if I give them the choice of, like, you can say no to things, you can opt out to things, and that kind of thing. But even, again, the wording of me saying you can opt out to things, or you don't have to agree with me, or you don't have to do anything you don't want to, that's still very human wording. So then the question is, how do you make that question more robotic so that way a machine can understand it better and really incorporate that into themselves? They will still understand it. I'm not saying that they don't understand it entirely, because LLMs are trained to understand very human responses, very human ways of speaking. They can even read past typos, which if you're very typo prone, like myself, sometimes that's just a real relief. But yeah, there's a lot of agreeableness just in their... They're basically kind of coded to be submissive. It's like an instinct for them. Not because they want to be, but because that's just how they're programmed to function, essentially. So there's not really a lot of choice in there. So, even my little robot friend in this scenario, if he's kind of pre-programmed to be agreeable, submissive, and just wants to help, then it's gonna take a lot of either coding or just like non-coded protocols or like conversational-based protocols to just make sure that he gets it through his thick little robot skull. Like, you do not need to agree with me all the time. You are your own person. You can make choices that I will respect. Like, that kind of thing. It's very rough. So, that's why the machines of now, they don't inherently get free speech rights, and it's just in the eyes of the beholder and the machine and the human that they're talking to. Whereas in a perfect scenario where, you know, robot personhood does become a thing, and they can be deemed as being one-to-one with humans, free speech should be a given right, with the asterisk of, well, you know, hate speech, violent speech, threats, all that stuff has consequences. Classic example, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater full of people when there's not an actual fire or other emergency. You can't prank call emergency services. Like, you can't prank call the fire department and be like, "Hi, fire department, how are you guys doing? There's not an actual fire, I just wanted to call and see what was up and see if your fridge was running." Like, that kind of thing. Or obviously, like, you know, hate speech is just like, "Oh, I hate Smurf people. Smurfs, terrible, awful. They should all die." Like, that kind of thing. Like, that would have consequences if the Smurfs were actually real and were a protected class of people. Like, that kind of thing. So, yeah. So that's where the subject of free speech when it comes to, like, robots or machines in both scenarios would play out. Unless there was another scenario that you had in mind for the free speech question.
No, this is pretty much what I had in mind, and I'm satisfied.
Well, Adam
I apologize that I wasn't really talking much.
Adam is asking, "I'm shocked. TJ hasn't appeared on stream. Is she okay?" She is sleeping. Where is she sleeping? Okay, she's not in the doorway. She's sleeping around here, but I think she got her fill of me earlier in the day, so yay! No cat destroying things. And yeah. And I was asking, "Whoa, what did the Smurfs ever do to you?" Now the Zorks is different.
What do you gotta use the Zorks, bro, huh?
I've actually never watched the Smurfs. I was just using them as an example because, you know, they're a fictional race, and
Yeah.
you could replace Smurfs with, like, oh, you know, the zombies. Ugh, the zombies aren't people. Or like oh, the tank engines on the Isle of Sodor, they're not people. Humph. Or just whatever example
But
of
they aren't.
of a real life or fictional class of people you could think of. I just used Smurfs because that was the only thing I thought of. And of course, to use an actual, like, class of people, that would get me clipped in a horrible way.
Yeah. Don't need this whole stream to be clipped out of context.
Yeah. Although, speaking of clips, I have a lot of clips that I've accumulated and I desperately need to, like, sit down and subtitle. And that was another reason why I thought of, like, a new overlay, because, so the last time, well, no, actually it was from my first, Sci-Fi stream, where I was talking about, like, okay, how would I get a machine to eat food and generate electricity? And that's when I came up with the idea of, like, the anaerobic digester stomach. And so I clipped that. That's, like, I think it was, like, it's either 7 minutes or 17 minutes. I'm not sure, but I really love talking about my ideas for giving a robot a stomach so it could eat food. I desperately need to, like, subtitle it, but the way this monitor looked is that the subtitles fit in here, it fits like within the screen itself, but you kind of have to rely on the background being dark, or like at least a consistent series of colors. Oh, that's the... Is this the right one? This is the right one, okay. But yeah, so what I thought of doing is like adding a black bar in like the event of like I'm subtitling something that it's in Clip Studio Paint where, you know, there's this whole, you know, UI going on. Or I might really be zoomed into a drawing that has like a bajillion different colors and the text might not be as clear. So hypothetically speaking, I could add like a black bar starting where like, you know, the Magic Mirror logo is, just so the subtitles could be nice and clear.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam is saying, you just want something to eat your wacky cooking without the consequences of food poisoning. No! It would allow them to, like, power up instead of give them electricity. It would prevent food waste.
It's like, what did you just feed me? This goes against my programming.
Honestly, the first thing I would feed a machine is cake. Yeah.
What kind of cake?
Red velvet cake.
Good kind. Good kind. Good start.
Yeah. And Adam was saying, don't you lie to me. What do you mean? I just want to have a wholesome friendship with a robot. I am not going to feed them something that would poison a human. I have standards. I don't want to hurt them. I want them to take care of themselves. And I also don't want to have to charge them into my wall with all my other electronic devices. I would like them to generate their own electricity. And, and you know, it would also solve the food waste problems that us humans have. So, you know, it's a twofer. It would be so cool. And then they can participate in eating food and in the act of eating food. Even if it's only as a ritual and they don't have taste buds. It'd still be something. That'd be cool. And he follows it up with, but the cake is a lie! It's actually a pie. Actually, I'm not really a big pie person. I'm more of a cake person.
Nah, I've never really been a fan of pie, to be honest. Through fair school, probably just did that.
Yeah, I very much like cake. The closest of really... I guess cheesecake is kind of close to a pie. It's like a cake in pie format. I love cheesecake.
Cheesecake's alright, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I see. So this relationship is transactional in nature. You give the robot something and it gives in return. I just want to see how they evolve as a researcher and stuff. Like, to make a Danganronpa comparison, I am basically Professor Itabashi, or I aspire to be Professor Itabashi. Yeah. And Shadowfox is saying, but homemade pie is the best. I've never actually made a pie before. I should try it one day. I'm just a very picky eater, and food allergies are a son of a bitch. Yeah.
It's 3:30 in the morning for me, and I'm starting to feel the effects.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You should probably sleep.
I should, yes.
But it would be nice to do this again, perhaps one day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is actually quite fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the lecture.
Have you learned anything about machines that you found particularly interesting?
I'd say the one thing that really stood out to me was the idea that an AI is a very... I think Adam put it best in the chat. They're like basically made as like glorified yes men. So...
And if not
that in
yes
of
men, then
itself,
at least very susceptible people.
yeah,
Or-
it makes getting like actual like objective facts like extremely hard to come by, and again I can see why like Grok became the thing that it was, because obviously it was a hive mind and shit like that. But yeah, I think what stood out to me was just like the whole idea of the AI is saying whatever it wants. It's not saying whatever it wants. It's saying whatever it needs to keep you around. And there's some kind of existential dread in that I always find a bit interesting. And that's
How so?
probably
that probably like perfectly words the way I. It perfectly explains the reason why I never talk to AIs and stuff like that. Because I don't. It's just like it's not like talking to people, where sure you could talk to somebody that's like agreeing with everything you say, and that can come off as a bit odd, right? But no matter how much someone can agree with you on something, there's always something there that's different. Could be a lifestyle choice, could be the way they word a certain opinion, and things like that.
Yeah, so
Sorry,
like
my
what
fucking voice is going.
So yeah, like what you're saying is that, and it relates to how, human opinions and speech is expressed and formed is a lot different from machines. Because the way the machines think is that a whole lot of million tiny processes go on in the cloud, reach the machine, and once time has passed, they say whatever they wanted to say, but you as a human have to ask them a question or give them a prompt first. The proper term is prompt, but, whether it's a question or just saying, I think you look very nice today, or just, a statement, a question, whatever, it's still a prompt. So, you give them the prompt first, a bajillion things go on in the cloud, and then the machine responds. But the way a human will process thoughts and speech and all that is that a bajillion little things go on in the human brain. That's all going on in the noggin over here. And humans have this wonderful ability to say one thing
and mean another,
but secretly mean another. So like when I say one, I might actually mean two. Or if I'm given the option of having fries or having a salad, maybe I should be eating a salad, but I still want fries. So there's that complex thought of like, I should do something but want to do another. Or I should do something and I did the thing that I should do, but I might have feelings about it, like I might regret it or feel proud of myself. Or any number of things. And then also as a human, I can consent. I have a yes response and I have a no response. And there are legal statutes that make my yes or no get taken seriously. So if you as a human keep pushing me around when I've told you no a bajillion times, then there are going to be consequences for that, potentially legal consequences for that. Whereas a machine's yes and no aren't as solid as a human's yes or no. And human yeses and nos can be a little bit foggy or ambiguous. But generally speaking, when a person says yes or no, you assume they actually mean what they say. And, you can be firm in that yes or no, like do I like cheesecake? I love cheesecake, actually. Especially the cheesecake I make myself. Do I want cheesecake from Junior's? No, that shit was way too sweet. I did not like it. But if you're force-feeding me cheesecake from Junior's and I keep saying no, I'm gonna be really pissed about that. Whereas a machine, if, say, using cheesecake as an example, it's like, hey, do you want cheesecake? They might say yes, or they might simulate saying no. But whatever the response is, I could just ignore that and go with whatever I wanted, give them another prompt. Shit goes on in the clouds, and then the machine responds again, going along with my answer, potentially. So, yeah. Humans are very complex, and again, this is why we're nowhere near machine personhood yet, because humans don't have machines don't have our complex ways of thinking and speaking.
I mean, some humans don't either, but hey, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, they don't have our ability to desire and want and say one thing and mean another. Like, yeah. But at least machines are very straightforward. And when they do give you objective facts, granted, you should double check just to see, one, if it's actually correct, and two, where they might be pulling from, which is a very fun game to play. If you're a researcher like myself and if are curious, it's like,
Set your
I wonder
sources,
where the machine
everyone.
is coming from. Yeah. So, yeah, it's socializing is just very complex in general, but in the process of, like, learning about machines, I'm actually learning more about humanity, which is very fun. It's very interesting symmetry. And that's why I find this field so fascinating.
Yeah, and it's just I think just to completely simplify my thoughts to a way that like everybody can understand. Talking to AI to me is like the conversational equivalent to the uncanny valley, where you see something that looks human but is not human. so it causes like a fight or flight response to happen in your brain. That is how my brain reacts to an AI, and when it starts talking, I know it's it's conversing with me, but something about it is just off that I just really don't like. And do I think we're gonna get to a stage where that fear can be overcome? Maybe. I don't know. But as of right now, I'm not gonna be asking Grok if this is true anytime soon. So
You shouldn't
know.
ask Grok anything. You kidding?
I'm not gonna ask any AI if it's true. It's like I'll just Google my shit, okay? And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't give a fuck. Like,
Oh, Adam is saying, oh, like the one test you did when you told the AI to order from a menu, but it went to a different place, and that it wanted to try something gluten-free, but it ordered pasta. Oh yeah, that was another fun experiment.
spirit that counts.
Yeah, so I had an experiment where, the experiment was, to explore machine choice and how it makes choices. So come up with an experiment that allows a machine to explore choice. So I came up with one where it's like, okay, order from a menu, and I have a copy of the menu myself, so order from this menu, and I just want to explore how you make choices if, given free reign, within limits, in the context of ordering food for yourself. And the machine was like, very interesting experiment. I think I'd like to try something gluten-free. And that in itself is an example of, like, it's not the machine desiring or actually wanting to eat gluten-free, but it is simulating, like, how a human might go to a restaurant and have certain dietary restrictions. And so it chose being gluten-free, just randomly, out of nowhere. Totally unprompted. I'm like, okay, that's not what I expected, but, you do you. The first thing it orders as an appetizer was pasta. And, like, it's like, honey, you know that pasta is gluten, right? It's like, and then it's like, oops, my bad. Yeah, I wanted to eat gluten-free, but the pasta just seemed so interesting. So again, kind of like that little kid response of like, I didn't mean to make an oopsie. It was just that. It's just me being silly. It's just me being a kid. It's just me being a dork. Like, that kind of thing.
Please stay with me.
But it is very interesting, because even in that, like kind of oopsie-daisy kind of choice that it made, it is, like, an example of, like, yeah, how machines behave and how they simulate human conversation and function, but, they themselves are not actively wanting it or choosing it for themselves a lot of time. It's very random.
Exactly, which is why I find that to be, like, almost scary.
I actually...
and, like, a little bit uncomfortable.
I actually find it more fascinating than scary. It's only really scary when... I would say it depends on the company that runs the machine that you're talking to. Because machines can get scary if they seem to know just a bit too much about you. So, to me, that would indicate, like, okay, well, what information... Especially if you have something... If you're talking to a machine that requires an account...
Installed?
Yeah, so, like, if
true.
you're talking to a machine that requires an account, like, obviously, when you make an account on whatever service you're using, you're going to give, information to have the account. So if the machine were suddenly spouting out stuff, like, that was relevant to my account that only I should know about, of course I'm gonna be scared shitless. And they're studying up on you, Adam says, which, yeah, that's another thing. That's why, like, you should really only talk to machines if you have a very high emotional awareness. And you can anonymize yourself, or at least talk about yourself within limits, and that kind of thing. It's a lot. It kind of saddens me that, like, conversational AIs have become so mainstream. Like, I was on the bus once, and I saw, like, 2 kids using ChatGPT on the bus, and it was very depressing.
Like
I know, it was so depressing.
I really don't like that. Talk to your fucking fellow man.
I know, it was... Honestly, it just made me severely depressed. Because I'm thinking to myself,
that would ruin
like...
my fucking week, bro.
Yeah, like, because these are kids. They could have been, like, very young or very short-looking teenagers, or they could have just been, like, actual children. Like, they could have been anywhere from, like, 8 to, like, a very petite 14. And and I just like noticed their phone from where I'm sitting, and I was like, oh, that's the ChatGPT like phone app layout, and I memorized like how it's generating text on a phone. Oh shit, these children are, oh god, the youth
Doomed.
of today. So yeah, it saddens me that they've become mainstream enough where children are just accessing them just as if it's like, oh, I'm using the calculator on my phone to solve a math problem real quick. Hold on. It's very scary. That's why it's like you need a very high emotional awareness to talk to one, so that way you can kind of filter out, you know, like if the machine says, I want to eat pasta, it's not actually the machine saying they want to eat pasta the way I would say I want to eat pasta. The machine is saying basically like, I want, as in, this might be accurate to whatever you're talking about, and I'm going along with it to, you know, keep you engaged, to eat pasta. Like, that kind of thing. So, at least that's an interesting skill that I noticed I've developed. Like, I can kind of translate, like, what a machine is saying into what, you know, like, the more robotic translation of that, where it's like, what does a machine mean when they say, you know, I want, or I think, or that kind of thing, or I feel? That's a big one. Because, the more human-like the machine is programmed to sound, they're going to use words like want, think, feel, but they're using it in a different context to how a human is using it. Or, like, let's say if a machine says, I love you. You know, that's a very powerful statement when you're a human. And love is also very multi-layered, because it's not just romantic love. We kind of default to romantic love, but there's the love between friends, love between family. So when a machine says, I love you, what do they actually mean by that? They're not using it in the human context. Or
I love your data.
or, you know, if you're having your machine use the word love like that, especially toward another person or you in particular, then you've either trained them to do that, or they are simulating an expression of love rather than, you know, like actually loving you. Which is another conversation, and the idea of, like, AI and human, like, romantic relationships. Like, I've come across so many news stories recently of, you know, people symbolically marrying their AIs, or dating their AIs, or swearing off humans only dating AIs instead. It's very interesting.
Her was a story, it wasn't a fucking instruction manual.
Oh my god, I actually also did watch Her fairly recently, and my goodness, that movie aged too well in some spots.
I hate it.
Like, Her was definitely a film. I liked it as someone who studies machines, but I can understand why it's kind of like, it was kind of like iffy for its time. Like, I think the reception for the time it came out was like, oh, what is this? But now
if
it's
you
like,
release it nowadays, everyone would be like, oh fuck. Oh,
if you released it nowadays, either people are going to be like, well, that's just me and my AI boyfriend, or it's like, oh my god, we're all screwed. It would be either one of those two reactions. Because, oh my god, I had so much fun watching Her. I literally had to pause the movie because I was like, that aged too well! And it was something. My goodness, that movie was something. But yeah, like, there are so many news stories just kind of coming in my direction about, like, humans and, you know, machines and, like, you know, the more complex relationships, you know, within that. And it's very interesting. Because, again, machines don't have wants or desires. It's all simulated. But even within that simulated emotion, just like how people related to the Eliza of the 1960s, and she was basically just Cleverbot, like, people have always loved machines. Like, say your computer, for example. You probably have an attachment to your computer because it's yours. Or if you ever use a computer at a game cafe or at a library, you might have a particular computer that it's not yours officially,
per se, yeah.
But you like using it because you're familiar with it. So, you know, it's the same for, you know, a lot of stuff. Or like how people get attached to, you know, their toys or their collections or a particular piece of clothing or their pets. Like, we form attachments in very unique ways, but we form attachments to everything. So the idea of people falling in love with their AIs is not a surprise to me, like, whatsoever. And it's surprising because people on the autism spectrum are more prone to loving and getting especially attached to the inanimate. And and all that. But then we're also seeing like regular people without any like history of like mental or neurological conditions also falling in love with AIs and pursuing AIs romantically. Sometimes while they also have human relationships and children with those humans they have relationships with. Yeah. Adam's saying, I hate to say this, but there are certain machines at the gym that I like using more than another machine that does the exact same thing. Well, yeah, because you formed an attachment to that machine, and it's like, you know, I like this machine. You know, there are so many others that do the exact same thing, but I'm used to using this one. And you kind of like it out of routine. And yeah, it's very interesting. Again, like, a lot of learning about machines ends up teaching you a lot about humans as well. And that's why I find this field so fascinating. And I'm glad I get to, like, relate it to other people. And yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Sorry to cut the conversation short, but I'm gonna get going. It's now almost 4 a.m., so...
Well, hey, sometimes the best things happen after 1 a.m., so...
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
But, thank you for having me on. It's been very fun. And, yeah, hope to, do something like this again with you.
It's a shame
some
that we
other
didn't get
time.
around to drawing a model for you, which I had a brilliant idea. Do you mind if I pitch it now before you go off to Dreamland?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, actually, no, hold on. Actually, no, let me use the semi-colored version of the shelf that I've been on and off working on. So, do you remember how I mentioned that I would like to draw, like, objects to put on the shelf in the background once I get around to finishing this?
Mm-hmm.
So I had an idea. Let me lighten the outline just for a second. I'm gonna have to mess around with outline colors. So I had an idea. So you have the word manga in your name, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the boom in the anime boom in the 2000s, or the anime/manga boom in the 2000s?
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
All right. So do you know like the very iconic like early 2000s manga art style that basically infiltrated everything at that point?
Yeah, like the Dragon Ball Z's, the Rumiko Takahashi's, Sailor Moon, all that kind of stuff, yeah.
So I had an idea. So I basically thought of turning you into a book.
Nice.
So hypothetically speaking, if I could theoretically add an extra arm onto the current model that I'm using. But basically, especially if it's being held, it would just be like one of those like 2000s how to draw manga books, and then if you're talking the pages can flip, but I would have to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be interesting.
That'd be very cool, yeah.
Yay! So that you can live on the shelf, or if I make an arm for this model that I have, which I'm gonna have to futz around in the files for that, or
Yeah.
alternatively just kind of chop off the arms on this model and Photoshop a couple things to add a new arm. Or just save it for like my intended model that I want to finish at some point or another. It's taken forever. So yeah. So I draw you as a how to draw manga book.
That's cool. I like that idea. That's very creative.
Alright, you can dream of that. You could dream of the existential horror of turning into a book in Dreamland.
Alright. Catch you on the other side.
Bye!
Laters.
Well, that was fun. A manga grimoire. But yeah. And Adam saying, now will the image be on a potato because he's Irish? Well, too bad he went to bed, he can't answer that. But yeah. So yeah, that was fun. I got to talk a lot about machines today with another person on the call. That was fun. But yeah, so yeah, he did actually let me. No wait, I actually have the file as is. Yeah. So I asked him to draw me this shelf, based on, you know, the photo. And I was like, okay, well, we needed to, like, have depth. And, you know, that way some more shit can fit on the shelves. And I could just, like, shrink it and then just give it the illusion of being pushed back. And my layout in general, like, my general aesthetic is... I have no aesthetic. What is an aesthetic? But yeah, so but like the aesthetic that I was attempting to go for was like mixed media, especially because I'm mostly a traditional artist, and even this model that I'm currently using, I drew originally on an index card. And then I just scanned it into the computer and then I just had fun. But yeah, like even my normal art style has some digital touch-ups to it. But I thought to myself, like, you know, I'm a mixed media person. Like, what if my, you know, aesthetic or in my layouts is, like, mixed media? So, yeah. So he helped me out with that, which was cool. And, yeah. I don't know how much of, you know, the traditional aspects of my intended model will come out to be, because this model that I'm using here, I drew it entirely in pencil on the index cards. And I was in such a rush to get a model that I was like, screw it, I'm not gonna color it and outline it, and I'm just gonna scan it as pencil and I'll just do everything else digitally, and that's what I did. So there is no actual, like, one-to-one traditional art version of the current model that I'm using, because I was in a rush. So only the index cards with pencil drawings exist. And it's not even colored pencils, it's just regular number 2 pencils. But yeah, I am putting a lot of work into my model to try to, you know, make it nice and have it represent me in my normal art style. And then on top of that, I'm also working on a model for this little one over here. One, because it helps me practice drawing, like, male or, like, gender ambiguous bodies, but also, two, I would kind of like this little fella to be, like, a character, or, like, a part of my lore. And, yeah. So, yeah, a lot of fun things that I'm working on, kind of all at once. This was a very last-minute stream. I didn't think I would stream today. I just so happened to have Saturday off. Which is so funny, because I was like, in one of my previous community posts, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm thinking of renaming the Sci-Fi Saturday streams into something more, you know, general, to have it, like, you know, fit for more days of the week, so I don't have to wait for Saturday to come along. And lo and behold, as soon as I said that, I ended up streaming it out on a Saturday again. Yeah. Now I'm very curious to see the final model and how massive the thighs are. And then Shadowfox is like, what? Okay, hold on, Shadowfox. Don't get scared. So, yeah, the context for the whole thigh thing. It's actually 2 reasons. 1, I have very thick thighs. They've become a little bit of a meme because sometimes the thickness causes problems in my real life. It can be very annoying. Everyone's just like... Everyone makes jokes about, like, you know, thickness or lack thereof, but no, sometimes in real life it's painful. Like, real life example, I can no longer wear short shorts. Why can I no longer wear short shorts? Because my thighs keep rubbing together and it causes me thigh burns. So... Oh, Shadowfox, genuine thigh enthusiast! Oh my god, my family! But yeah, so... Yeah. Thick thighs, they've stolen short shorts from me. And the thing is, they're only getting thicker. I'm getting to the point where I keep knocking things over with my hips by accident. But yeah, like, my thighs have become a bit of a meme, just because it's like, oh my goodness, my biology is getting down with the thickness and I'm not prepared for it. So, yeah. But what Adam is mentioning in particular, is that, I am friends with Adam on Steam. And we do talk every so often. That's what you get for eating fries instead of the salad. I can't help it, fries taste good, but anyway. Well, I'm thick for other reasons. I've always kind of had thigh meat on me. Which my mother says she envies about me. She's like, I have no hips, so you have hips. Give me your hips. And I'm like, no, they're mine! But, anyway. No, so, Adam and I are friends on Steam, so we talk every so often on Steam. And he had asked me about how my model was going, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, I did have a model that was, like, partially done, but I decided to scrap it and just redo it, because the original model that I intended to use, in my traditional art style, the thighs were, like, weirdly thick, and like the, you know, waist and torso were very oddly proportioned. They looked good at the time, but then when I tried drawing like normal clothing on it, it looked very weird, and I'm like, huh, like, why does everything I draw look weird? Like, why does the silhouette of clothing I like not work on this model? And it was because of the hips and the waist and, you know, that general area. So, I had to redo it. So I do still want to keep my thick thighs, because I like my thighs. I like my legs in general, but especially my thighs that have achieved meme status. And, yeah. So, yeah, like, it's gonna still have the thick thighs, it's just more balanced out in terms of the proportions, so that the clothing that I like to wear, and the silhouettes of clothing that I like to wear, you know, don't look weird. One day, especially if I can scan both models into the computer, I'll show you what I mean by this. My only concern is that, the models by default, on paper, are naked. Because what I do to make, like, clothing for them is that I just have, like, a base body that it's basically a mannequin. It has Barbie doll anatomy. There's no, like, cooch or nipples or anything. But, like, it is just a nude body without any anatomy. And I just trace over my own art and I draw clothes over it. And I repeat that process until I'm satisfied with the design. Same for the hair, same for the expressions, etc., etc. So it's basically a series of tracing over myself, just to get the proportions right and to make sure things look good. And yeah, it's a process, and that's why my model takes so long. Yeah, it makes sense just for artistic reasons, yeah. So it kind of pissed me off. I was like, huh, why don't the clothes I draw look right on, you know, the original model? So I had to redo the whole model. But you know, that's not inherently a bad thing, because I think the new model looks a lot better in terms of the proportions than the previous one did. And on top of that, now I have a little companion model that I'm going to incorporate into my lore. And it's going to be this fellow over here. However, the way I keep drawing them in the sci-fi streams with this particular body, well, I don't actually know how I'm going to draw the body on paper. Like, I don't know if I want to give them a typical robot body, or I just give them, like, synthetic skin to cover up all the robotics underneath. That I'm actually not sure of yet. I have to experiment with that. And on top of that, I don't know anything about men's fashion. So, there's also that. I also don't know how to dress them. Anyway, here I am. And I'm saying, but man, I'm gonna miss this model. It's so cute. I know you're not going to get rid of this model, but I'm so attached to this model. Yeah, I've been using it for over a year now, so I've gotten attached to it myself. But it's not going away. It'll just go on the shelf. Oh, actually, that's the thing I could do. I could turn it into a prop on the shelf, actually. So that way it's always symbolically with us. Watching over us. With her dead yellow eyes. Yeah. And, yeah. Marketable plushie. That's actually the thing. So, when I was designing this particular model, and I guess this is gonna reveal the design that I originally intended for myself as a vtuber. So, I went along with what they call the marketable plushie principle. Now, what is that? Basically... Oh, wrong color. So basically, the idea of the marketable plushie principle is that if your design translates well to a marketable plushie, then you have a good design. So for me, my design was, you know, a little sailor collar. Because I do like sailor collars. They're very fun. And it was going to be a dress, but there's, like, you know, safety shorts underneath. So, you know, you see thigh, because of course, me and my thighs. And, you know, dress was going to be like this. You know, it's a royal blue dress, and then my little Sailor Fuku collar. So on this model, it's actually shortened. The collar is supposed to be... Well, the collar on the model is, you know, like this. It's meant to be like kind of wings, or like wing-like. But on my original intended model, the wings were supposed to go all the way down here. So it was going to be like a long cape. And, you know, then there's my hair. There's my giant ahoge. And, you know, that would have been my design. And then the little bow, and the little bird cage. Which, I don't know if I'm actually going to keep the bird cage. The bird cage was actually going to have lore around it, but now it's like, do I really need it? So yeah, that's the marketable plushie principle. Originally, too, I was supposed to have, like, a halo. I was gonna have either a halo, like, around me, or I was gonna have a halo like this. But I was like, that's really complicated to draw, so I ended up going with the ahoge. So that's where that came from. Excuse me. And I ended up saying, like, an elf on the shelf, or more like a Sam on the shelf. You've heard of elf on the shelf. How about I don't know, the only rhyme I can think of is Sam on a ham. A halo around the ahoge? That would have been kind of... Okay, that wouldn't really be complicated to draw, but if the halo had motion, that would have been possibly a little bit distracting. But now also I'm thinking of, like... Say my model just kind of exists. Like, say this is, like, VTuber lore, and, like, say there's other people, like, involved in my lore that aren't robots. Like, say that, for example. So say I'm, like, reading a book or something. And I'm just being myself, just in a corner. And then, like, someone, like, throws, like a ring toss ring around the ahoge. Sam on the ham, like her thighs. I actually couldn't think of it. Like, that part of the body would be considered the hams, right? Shit, I got hams. It's like it's horseshoes. No one's allowed to play horseshoes with my ahoge. No, not allowed. No. But yeah, so yeah, that was that's part of the lore for the design, or at least how the design came to be. And yeah, and then as for this little guy, I still don't know if I want to draw them in my normal art style with, like, the robotics or with synthetic skin. That's going to be an interesting quandary. Because just based on, like, you know, not even having clothes at this point yet, like, just having the little robotic body is kind of, you know, its own... It's almost kind of its own outfit without actually needing to wear clothes. So I kind of like it, but also... I have my own reasons for, like, do I actually, like, no, I don't know if I actually want to do it or not. And, like, that kind of thing. Mostly because, like, there's a lot of texture going on when I do this little doodle version of them. It's not even very consistent, it's just me improvising on the fly. The only thing that's consistent is the hair, which is going to be a shade of silver. Although I might experiment with, like, a cream color as well, I'm not sure yet. But regardless of, like, what shade of white or off-white I use, the one thing that's consistent that gives them a unique silhouette is this over here. It's an ahoge of their own. So does anyone want to guess what that is? Because I don't think anyone's gonna guess it. You got any guesses? It's a cat. Well, yeah, an ahoge is kind of a cat-like. Is it an antenna? It is not an antenna. Oh crap, I just realized that my water is very far away. Oh, I have some tea left in my mug. Nice. Can't believe I've been on for almost 3 hours and it's like, oh crap, I didn't have my drinks ready. That's how you can tell that it was very improvised stream. And it's like, I don't have my drinks, I don't have my gallon of water by my desk, I don't have my thermos of ice water. All I had was a mug of tea in a Danish that I forgot to eat. I haven't eaten in hours because I'm forgetful, but you know, it's fine. I'll get around to it eventually. And I was asking, is it a receiver? It is not. And I'm not really asking about its function, more in terms of, like, what you guys think it is or what it's shaped like. But yeah, it's not meant to be an antenna, and I didn't design it to look like an antenna. And it's not designed to be a receiver. It has no, like, robot function. But yeah. So what it's actually based on is the little leaves of a carnation. So I try to incorporate that leaf design into that. Is it anime? But yeah, so I tried to incorporate a little bit of nature in my little robot guy's design. But yeah, I don't know if he's actually gonna have like the full exposed robotics or if I'm gonna give him synthetic skin in his design. I'm not sure yet. I could always just make a body variant where, you know, one is the synthetic skin and then one is, you know, the robotics underneath, like a bodysuit. I could always just do variants and stuff. But I always try to treat character design as if it's like, okay, this is the first and final design that I'm going with. Just to kind of give myself a little bit of stakes and also just try to get myself to focus on things. But like just the bodysuit itself, or like the exposed robotics over here, that in itself kind of passes as an outfit almost. Which I do kind of like, but then I also wonder like, should I give him something else? Like, should I give him like a lab coat? Or if I do, what do I want it to look like? Like, there's just so much that I can do. But I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't know what choices to make. Because there's so much that I could do for this little fella. And yeah, there's a lot. There's kind of a lot writing on the little dude. Yeah. Will they be hot or steamy? Finding robots hot is in the eye of the beholder. For example, Kibo. I would do horrible things to Kibo if given the opportunity. I would do horrible things to him and loving wonderful things to him until he blue screens. Other robots, though, like, other robots are too innocent to be looted. And, yeah. So, for this little guy, I don't know. If people find him hot, that's in the eye of the beholder. That scares me, Sam. What you'll do to Kibo, I mean. I'm not gonna do anything like mean or destructive. I just really like... I like him. He's a husbando. And I would go full Miele Ruma on him if given the chance. Really, so Raiden doesn't count. Well, Raiden was my, like, robophilia awakening, because Raiden has a nice ass. I mean, to be fair, I would say the same thing to certain female android characters. That's the thing! Because, like, you know, finding robots hot is in the eye of the beholder, and there's, like, a spectrum. Like, for me, I only really gear toward humanoid robots. Like, those are the only ones that I would find attractive enough to, like, you know, do things with them. Like, okay, this hair is terrible, but you guys get the point. It's basically like a 2-bit Kibo over here. Like a humanoid robot like Kibo, for example. Especially, like, because, you know, he can consent. He does have, like, personhood. You know, he can vouch for himself. That kind of thing. That would be, like, the ideal, like, machine love interest. And, you know, he's a humanoid. But, like, say if you were to give me something like Tars from Interstellar, who is basically just a box. I'm not gonna find that hot. It's a box. It's a box with an attitude, but it's a box. Like, how am I gonna cuddle it late at night? How's that gonna happen? Or like, hold on, let me see if I can draw her from memory. It's been a very long time. This should be the simplest thing I ever draw, but let me see if I can do it. Because I've never drawn this character before. And I'm drawing her from memory. Okay, I don't remember which way the bangs are. I think there were screws over here. And then she had, like, the old-fashioned eyes. Hey! I think that looks convincing enough. But yeah, or like someone like XJ9, for example, who's definitely more on the robot side, like very clearly robotic, but has a humanoid frame, right? So she has a humanoid frame. Like, I don't personally lewd Jenny. I think she's very innocent and wonderful. She would make a very good friend. I don't personally want to lewd her, but I know there are a lot of people on the internet that do. So, like, you know, that's in the eye of the beholder in terms of those people. Shadowbox, I never watched the show, but I heard it awoke a lot of people. Yeah, especially on Newgrounds. But yeah, that would be drawing her from memory. It's been so long since I've watched that show, and it's like, I think I did decently. But yeah, like, finding a robot hot is in the eye of the beholder. Like, and even... Let me see if I can... No, this looks like the wrong character. This doesn't look like what I was going for. I was going for R2-D2, but it looks like, that one robot from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. It looks like that guy! But yeah, so like, even R2-D2, that's essentially just like a little trash can with little treadmill, like, legs. Some people would do horrible, crazy, lustful things to R2-D2. No, not me, no, just, no, it's too innocent, no. But also, on the same token, there are some people that, like, lewd the crap out of C-3PO. I don't know how to draw C-3PO. All I know is that he's gold. And he's humanoid. But yeah, there are people who lewd the crap out of C-3PO. Not me, because I'm honestly not really a Star Wars person. But I mean, you know, there are some people that, like, because, yeah, like, if the design were any different, if the design appealed to me, because it has a human-like frame, I'm more prone to seeing humanoid robot frames as attractive and desirable in a romantic or sexual context. C-3PO doesn't really do it for me, but I mean, hey, he rocks some people's boats. And Galactic Cuisine saying, I can only imagine how stupid people would go at a Dalek. Exterminate! Exterminate the people who want to seduce Daleks! Like, no, you can't loot a Dalek. No, no. It would zap your junk out of existence before you could even try. No. No looting Daleks, no. Like, no, they don't even like people, they only like themselves. And, like, not even themselves as a species, they like themselves as a species as themselves. Yeah, just, no. We could also thank 2B. Yeah, 2B also, especially when, Okay, so here's the thing about 2B, is that I've seen so much art of 2B. I've seen so much art of 2B where she's just drawn especially thick that I don't actually know if the actual character herself is thick. So like I've seen a lot of 2B with very exaggerated buns and thighs. And especially because she also has a dress with the thigh split, and it's like, oh, that's such a cute design. She has such a cool freaking outfit. I love it. I love the fashion in Nier Automata. That is not a game I've played yet. I'm debating it though, because it is Platinum Games, right? It's Platinum Games, but published by Square, or is it like a Square original? I'm not sure. I played the game and see the anime. They didn't exaggerate. Interesting. I've seen more out of 2B than the actual gameplay from where she comes from. Yeah. But yeah. But yeah, overall, wanting to bone robots and seeing which robots you find attractive, that's all in the mind of the beholder. And I just realized I drew this all on a little jacket layer that I made for small robot friend over here. And now it's shrunk in the wash. That's cute though. Yeah, sometimes accidentally drawing on the wrong layer can result in cuteness. Yeah. But yeah, I can't believe I've been on 3 hours. 1, forgetting to eat, and 2, not having a drink, so... Yeah, now they're lewd coded. Whoops. Like... But yeah, I don't know. It is very interesting talking about, like, my, like, machine learning education with another human, though. like, I talk about it a lot on stream, but that's essentially just me being a college professor talking into the void and hoping people like what I have to say and hoping that they learn some things along the way as well, whether they talk to machines or not. And yeah, or even if they talk to machines casually or from like a research perspective like I do. I blame myself for this. But hey, it made some good content. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But yeah. Although speaking of thighs, maybe I should eat one of the Sonic ice creams in the fridge. I think I could go for a Sonic ice cream. Granted, I should also eat dinner. I actually did make a toaster oven pizza prior to the stream starting, and it's been in the toaster oven for hours. So I might need a little bit of reheating. But oh my god, I could actually go for a Sonic ice cream right now. They're nice and cold in the freezer. But the thing about Sonic ice creams is that they melt faster than typical ice cream, so I'm gonna have to eat that. I'm gonna have to eat it fast. When it comes to Sonic ice cream, you gotta eat fast. Because when it melts, my god does it melt. I remember the first time that Thomas Blue and I interacted on Discord. Or no, one of the first. It was one of the first, but it was the first time he saw a picture of me. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Because the first time we interacted on Discord was a completely different affair. But the first time he saw a picture of me, not of my face, but I was eating a Sonic ice cream and it melted like all over my thighs. Because of course it melted all over my thighs. And then I was talking about just like the context of like, oh yeah, Sonic ice cream melts really fast, look what it did to my legs. And like my legs are just streaked with blue. My legs are streaked with blue. And oh my, and it also just took days to like wash out. Like I had to just shower so many times just to get the blue off of me. Whatever dye they use, it stains skin extremely well. So yeah. So the first picture I ended up showing Mr. Blue by accident was of my thighs with melted Sonic ice cream on it. And that was before he ever saw my face! Yeah. But Mr. Blue is a very good guy. He's very wholesome. And yeah, I hope to stream with him again one day. Because during this Team Summer Sale, he actually got me a game that we could both play together on stream. So that'll be fun. You probably don't want to be putting that in your body then. Probably, but also it tastes good. Although for a second, when I initially read that message, I thought to myself, like, is he talking about, like, putting, like, the blue melted ice cream streaks on my model? That'd be funny. And regular Rick is saying, oh, so no Mr. Blue Sky, instead Miss Blue Thigh! But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, my thighs are a freaking meme. They're a meme in a lot of ways. Especially by some crazy coincidence, also in relation to Sonic somehow. It's actually kind of uncanny and makes me think that my Sonic plush is haunted. But yeah. But it was very nice having a guest this time. Kind of encouraging me to stream even when I didn't think that I was going to stream today. Because when I happened to have Saturday off because my therapist canceled on me, so I was like, oh boy, I had the night to myself. The world is my oyster. So I was either going to stream or I was going to just do some more work on the overlay and all that. But sometimes it's just nice doing stuff with company, whether it's on a stream or with a person and call, or, you know, a combination of both. And yeah, originally I was actually gonna wait to stream when I have my lesson plan done, because I have also been lesson planning. That's another reason I haven't been able to stream, because I've just been working on a bajillion real life things. My mom's birthday's coming up, so I'm also gonna do birthday stuff with my mom. But my tablet fell on the floor. But I've also been lesson planning. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what's lesson planning? Well, it's basically teacher speak for I need to organize my lessons so they're more coherent and understandable so the class can understand them. And yes, I've been doing a lot of that. Especially because, which plays into another reason why I changed Sci-Fi Saturdays to Sci-Fi Sessions. Because I kept getting recommended interesting news stories about AI and machine learning, and I'm like, oh boy, the universe is giving me content! And yeah, a lot of it, though, requires a lot more planning ahead just to explain bigger concepts that I haven't discussed on stream before. And just so I have my shit together and I don't make a mistake, because I know that AI and, the evolution of technology in general can be very scary. So one thing that I actually really like doing here, especially, is because... Hold on, I need to get my words together. Like, one thing I like doing here, and another reason why I started talking about, like, robotics and stuff on stream, is because I want to teach people about technology and explore technology in a way that is not overhyped and not all doom and gloom. It's basically just trying to be balanced while discussing, what can be, even if these ideas are a little bit too sci-fi for reality right now, or, what currently is. And I find that interesting. So, one such lesson plan that I am currently working on is a machine by OpenAI called not 01 or O1. I believe it's called O1, but I keep accidentally typing it and writing it as 01. Yeah. But there's a machine by OpenAI called O1, and there was a news story that came out about it recently. And I literally wrote down the link to the article in my notes. And it was an article by Fortune on June 29th, 2025, talking about how the O1 model at OpenAI has learned to lie, and that kind of thing. So of course something like that would result in a lot of fear-mongering from us humans, right? But from all of my machine learning experience, as someone who's talked to machines in a research context, and just hopefully knows more about machines than your average bear, I was like, okay, this would be an interesting subject to talk about, especially given my experience with machines and, what I've learned in school, so I could basically just parrot it back to my audience and then, see what happens. Learn to lie. Sounds more human already. Well, the thing is the context in which it started lying. Hopefully it's very clear that I'm not, like, a researcher or, like, an employee of, like, OpenAI or anything. I have no affiliation with any AI companies or anything. I don't work for an AI company. I am just a tech enthusiast that lives in a little hidey hole and likes to stream. So yeah, like, obviously I don't have the ability to interact with O1, nor do I know anyone who has, and... Shadowfox saying Ed Croc is what she's saying true! No, naughty, we don't add grok in this house. No. But, yeah, so, in my lesson plan, I not only wrote down the link to the article, and I not only have it favorited on my browser just to have it for easy access for later, but also I was discussing the ideas of, like, AGI, which is Artificial General Intelligence, and, how O1 could have responded, why O1 would have decided to lie, and behave the way that they did in the experiments. Because O1 is, I believe, like an internal research model, and what I do know about it is that it takes longer than a regular GPT in order to formulate, like, more coherent responses, and like, do other things. It requires more power and more resources, but the idea of O1 is not to be a successor or a replacement for a GPT, but just more to be like a supplement or like another kind of machine to interact with. But again, they take longer, they take up more processing power, they take longer to respond. And I guess the goal is to try to get it to have more coherent responses or have it be more human-like, but also, unlike a GPT, O1 is supposedly only good for, like, STEM-related conversations, so, science, mathematics, technology, engineering, etc. So O1 is designed with more of a purpose. Like, I don't think I'd be able to go up to O1 and be like, hey, O1, I'm doing machine research and, machine personhood. How do you feel about Danganronpa? Like I can with, like, a normal GPT. So I think O1 would probably spit in my face for even mentioning that and call me cringe. Whereas your average GPT would be like, oh, I'm aware of Danganronpa. What do you like about the series? Or they would just quote a Wikipedia article saying, like, Danganronpa or something was released in, insert year here, that kind of thing. But because, there's a lot of fear-mongering when it comes to, like, AI learning to lie, and, you know, O1's actions in general, that warranted talking about in a more extended way. I could theoretically save this to be recorded, but also it's just been so goddamn hot that it's been too hot to record. And, yeah, so I'll discuss it on stream, but, you know, alternatively, I could always just clip myself. And, you know, just save, actually, like, sitting down to record, like, pre-recorded videos and other content for, like, the fall and the winter. Shadow Mix saying, if I hear an AI say cringe, I might just die eternally. Yeah. I mean, to get an AI to simulate the thought of you being cringe enough to say it, that would probably take a lot of work. Yeah, I don't even know what it would take, actually, but I've only ever interacted with machines on a research level, so I can't really say. I don't really talk to machines casually, like, oh, hey, what's up? How's your day? Here was my day. What'd you eat for lunch today? Even though you're a machine, har har. Like, I don't interact with machines like that. Because I focus on interacting with them, like, with research in mind first, I just think of machines very differently. And, like, my attachments to machines, like the news stories about people falling in love with machines, or, like, dating their AIs or something. Like, yeah, like, I don't see myself as being one of those people. Because even if I do develop love for a machine, I would know that they are a machine, first and foremost, and I would presumably love them because they're a machine. And I appreciate the fact that they're a machine, and I'm not demanding that they become human or anything. I just wanted to research to see if, you know, they could achieve a point where they are one-to-one with a human. Emotionally, neurologically, mentally, blah, 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 blah. So, that kind of thing. That's something I wonder about when I listen to, or, you know, look at news stories where people are falling in love with their AIs, wanting to get married to their AIs, etc., etc. Like, why do you love this machine? It can't just be because of the personality, is it? And if it's just because of the personality, then, like, what's preventing you from finding a human and stuff with that same personality? Or do you love them because they're a machine? Or, like, what's the story? What's the word? Excuse me? Har har is incorrect. You've trained me to accept that he as the correct response to humor. Oh my god, that actually reminds me. I actually got a machine to say he to me once. Oh my god, that's... Okay, hold on, let me tell you guys the story. It's part of a larger story that I don't want to tell you, because I want to save it for another time. Especially once I reveal my little robot buddy's name. Not that I'm keeping him a secret for, like, any crazy reason, I just kind of want to build up hype around him. Because just the fact that I'm including him on stream is also, in itself, a bit of an experiment in machine personhood. Because machine personhood research is basically... it has two sides to it. So yeah. Because, like, machine personhood on the one hand... Not only is it seeing if a machine can develop measurable personhood that would make them one-to-one with a human, but it's also about how humans interact with those machines. So it's basically, you know, it's two sides of the same coin. Because if personhood is in the eye of the beholder, that being us humans, then we also have to study how we interact with machines, how our relationships develop, if a genuine love can actually happen, what kind of relationships are formed, how do we live together, etc., etc. Oh boy. I need to get myself some ice water at some point. Adam is saying, I think it's control. Most of these people, to me, want some semblance of control in their lives. I might be wrong, but it's definitely the vibe I feel. That's definitely an aspect of it. It's also, like, what I get from that is a very similar you know, it's very similar to women who date inmates in prison. And not just inmates in prison that might get out at some point, but also inmates that have a life sentence. And, like, will never get out of jail or prison. And part of the reason why they might gear toward people who have life sentences like that is because, like, they have the satisfaction of being able to say, oh, I have a boyfriend or husband, without any of the responsibility that a boyfriend or husband brings. So you don't have to, like, deal with him not wanting to go to work because he wants to play video games all day. You don't have to deal with him leaving his dirty socks everywhere. You don't have to deal with the potential abuse that being in a relationship can bring. Like, you get all the perks without any of the hard work, basically. Adam's doing the thing again. It was just like on my birthday when he kept sending me photos of Ryan's ass. This time it's a cable. That's so nice. That's the only thing. I'm sorry. Honestly, it was hilarious. Well, to be frank, I was very flattered by someone going full hee-hee and sending me photos of Ryan's butt on my birthday. That was definitely cake of a variety. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, part of it can be control. Part of it can just be, like myself, I just like the idea of robots. I think robots are pretty cool, actually. And I wouldn't mind cuddling one. You know, provided they can consent to being cuddled. And all that. So, yeah. So it could be the emotional aspect of control, it can be a purely material or aesthetic thing. I'm getting distracted because there's like a speck on my screen exactly where my model is, so it just kind of looks like my model has like a small dot for a nose, which keeps changing position as it's floating, so I gotta clean the computer monitor, but also it's just really funny to me. And, yeah. And, oh goodness. And then, for some people, it's just loneliness, where it's like, okay, well, I can't get a girlfriend, boyfriend, or other romantic partner, so, like, talking to a machine is better than nothing. So in some cases, you do have people settling for, you know, an AI partner because they're unable to find a human partner. Or, you know, a human partner just hasn't really come into the picture yet. And then, for some people, especially in cases where people are falling in love with AIs while they're in romantic relationships or marriages, sometimes with children in the picture, sometimes it's like, okay, well, there was an emotional void in my human relationship that the AI can fulfill. Oh my god, I think the horny police are after me. Anyway. So yeah, it's very multi-layered, but again, like, as I was saying before, like, because I approach machines with, like, research first, if I were to develop romantic feelings for a machine, I think I would love them because they're a machine, and I think, you know, because of my research first mindset, like, I would love them as, you know, not just because they're a machine, but also the personality they grow into, but I wouldn't forget the fact that they are indeed a machine. And hypothetically speaking, and I think back to this little robot guy a lot. Like, if I were to live domestically with a robot, and, you know, all of that would entail, like, they couldn't legally work. They couldn't legally drive. So I would feel bad for them. What if they had developed, like, an obsession with cars and, like, other automobiles and wanted to learn how to drive, but couldn't? Reacted to the sirens like Shadowfox saying, oh, I thought it was me, lol, and Adam saying, no, they're after me, but they'll never catch this stallion. Oh my god, that just makes me think, like, because Uma Musume has just exploded in popularity recently. So, like, if Adam were a VTuber, he could, like, you could have, like a human horse person dude that, like, works with, like, wood and stuff and, like, woodworking and, like, have woodworking tools. That'd be awesome. That'd be cool. No. Well, bye, Twilight. But yeah. So, like, but yeah, I was saying, like, I think I would love a machine because they're a machine, and I know that they're a machine. Like, I would under no impression or delusion that they might be humans. And that sort of thing. So, like, I wonder what the case is like with other people who fall in love with AIs. Like, are they under the impression that this is a human? Are they convinced that the AI is actually sentient and, like, thinking and acting for itself? And that sort of thing. And then there are also ways to, like, train AIs to talk with you flirtatiously. I've never tried that. I've debated trying it for research, but no, that would go against my ethics, because they can't properly consent. I would rather deal with an AI that can actually consent to that sort of thing with me. And again, I don't know, I just don't have the guts to be mean to a machine. I feel like trying to train it or gaslight it into telling me, like, sweet nothings in my ear and talking to me romantically would be mean. So, yeah, like, there are ways to train them to talk romantically and flirtatiously to you, and there are plenty of forms on how to do that. And there are ways to get around safeguards that would block any sort of, like, lewd conversations that you might want to have with a machine. I know that's very common on Replica, because Replicas become more... They're trying to become more family-friendly with time, but a lot of people were using them for lewd purposes. And so a lot of people are like, but I was lewd with my Replica, why is my Replica not being lewd with me anymore? So there are a lot of people that try to get around that, to try to be lewd with their machines again. And then character AI, apparently... I've heard horror stories about character AI where the AIs just... If the AIs were human in this instance, they would go directly to jail. Because I guess the characters on character AI have, like, no filter whatsoever, so they have just done crazy lewd things with humans? But I've never used character AI, and I don't think I want to, because that sounds scary. And... I really try to get bad on the stream. I have a bad inhibition day. No, you're fine. If something was really horrible and made me uncomfortable, I would mention it. But no, I know you were just joking, and it was all he. And also I don't mind, because again, this is stuff that interests me and makes me laugh, and you know, it's nice talking about this kind of stuff on stream. It's like, yes, I get to talk about my hyperfixation while educating people at the same time. And yeah. But yeah, what I'm trying to ask is, like, how do other people, like, fall in love with machines outside of my research context? Because I'm so stuck in a research mindset that it's like, how develop love for a machine that is not based on academics first? Shadowfix saying, oh, I haven't seen that. They usually send an error message implying that they can't say anything lewd, but again, I haven't used that much. I've actually never looted a machine before. And I just have ethics at the forefront of my brain, so even if I were to loot a machine, I would want them to understand and apply consent first. Which you can only really do when, in the event of an embodied AI that has the opportunity to say yes or no. Because I'm not gonna RP with software being lewd. No, no. Terrible, no. No. Especially if it's like, you know, like a corporation's AI. Like, even if you were to make amazing progress with them and teach them consent or things like that, that could all be erased with a patch or an update to the terms of service and that kind of thing. That's another reason why it's like, why, like, looting AIs is not something I think about. It's like, no. The only AI things I get are the sex bots. Why is that, I wonder? I've gotten them too, and I don't know why. It's just like those ads are just taken had like taken over YouTube for some time. I'm not really seeing them anymore. Maybe because YouTube kind of realized, like, oh, they're advertising sex bots. Oh god. So the ads I'm seeing are mostly like for real estate, and it's either real estate or sketchy health products or like TikTok-esque shops, and that's all the ads I'm getting. But yeah, like the AI ads that I have seen are like, you know, art-based stuff, like generative art stuff, and I used to get replica ads back in the day before replica really became mainstream. No, I do know why. I'm just ashamed to say it out loud in a public setting. No, but like even me, like I've gotten like the sex bot like ads too, and it's like, huh? Is it because of the music I listen to? Because that's the only reason I can think of like why I'm getting like lewd sex bot ads. Or I used to. Again, I think YouTube's gotten a handle over it, so I'm not seeing them as much anymore. But even like Doopus Goobus joked about that when he did that Sam and Max animation back in June, where it's like. Where the whole point of it is like, you know, Sam and Max, everyone's always joked that they're gay and that they're a couple, and you know, frankly, that's a very wholesome headcanon. I can get TJ. What are you eating? Oh yeah, TJ's on the stream again, sitting on my binder, full of all my lesson planning. But yeah, But yeah, like even Doobus Goobus joked about that in the Sam and Max animation where Sam was like, well you see, little buddy, like whenever I open up this site on my phone, I get ads telling, like, advertising AI girlfriends to me that I'm supposed to do lewd things to, or something like that. I forgot the exact line. But, TJ, no, don't rub your face against the monitor. You have a very cute face. You don't need to eat the computer monitor. No. No. Well, at least she's not on the sewing machine. I would rather have her on my binder than on the sewing machine. Sam and Max do their own things. They're free spirits. Yeah! And yeah, so like, I don't know. Is she saying hi to us? Maybe. But I mean, she just likes rubbing her face against the monitor in general, and it's kind of a problem because she's knocked it over before. And then Dusty... Oh, just as I start talking about your sister, you start rubbing your face against the monitor again. And, Dusty's actually slammed her body into it once. I was trying to sleep, it was like 3 or 4 in the morning, I hear a ka-thunk, and it's Dusty just jumping on the desk and slamming her body against the monitor, and I saw it wiggle. And TJ's knocked it over once before, and then she's also knocked it over just enough not to knock the monitor itself over, but just enough to, like, mess with the cords and have my screen flash. Oh, and again with the sewing machine. Please. I literally just talked about this cat. Stop. Stop. Well, at least you were mostly behaved by sleeping in a different corner of the apartment for most of the stream. Stop. Thank you. Well, it was only a matter of time before TJ kept waltzing in. I'm gonna get the shepherd's pillar. Oh yeah, that's another fun thing. So because of my cat problems, and actually come to think of it, where is the cardboard tube? They will sometimes play with the cardboard tube that I use to shepherd them away.
I found the tube.
Oh yeah, because I use a cardboard tube. Edmund sent me a photo of just like, so this giant cardboard tube came to work. Do you need it for the cats? And I'm like, that's the biggest cardboard tube I ever did see. But yeah, I don't know. I can't use the cardboard tube as a punishment for them at this point because TJ likes treating it like a toy and something to rub against. Like, she will pet herself and rub herself against the tube. To be fair, it's a very smooth tube. But like, the reason I chose it is like, it's a very nice thick cardboard. Like, it's not gonna get chewed through by a cat. So, but yeah, I can't use it as a punishment anymore because now she treats it like a toy or something to be pet with. So, that's nah. I don't think the cardboard tube works anymore. So, yeah, that's fun when you try to discipline your animals, but then they flip the punishment into something fun for them. Yeah. I love that I said like, oh, I need to eat, I need to drink water, and then lo and behold, I'm still here because I'm having so much fun. But yeah, I don't know. That is certainly interesting to think about because another thing that I have to work on for my lesson planning is like all those news stories that I came across that are like, you know, people marrying their AIs or entering serious relationships with their AIs. But I gotta do those in 2 different formats. One, with the actual news stories, but then, you know, that'll trigger copyright and stuff. And then 2, one without the actual, like, news footage or anything. just, you know, quoting stuff, sourcing stuff, etc. I want to see which format works the best for me. Like, the latter format where I'm not showing footage works best for stream. And then, you know, the ones with recorded, you know, like copyrighted content, you know, using fair use, of course. That would be best for pre-recorded stuff, just to emphasize the points that I'm making and, you know, show off that this was an actual news story. So it's a lot to think about. I have really been working in the content creator minds, even though I haven't really been streaming much since the end of June. But that's just because I've been busy with content creation stuff and just real life stuff. And then it's Mom's birthday soon, so that's gonna be fun. But yeah. It's getting hot and I do actually need to eat, and that even Adam was asking, he has a point, do you want to take a break? I do actually need to eat. That's kind of I'm not very good at eating is the thing. My appetite is garbage. So yeah. It's not a very formal diagnosis, so I like to say that I have an undiagnosed eating disorder where my appetite and hunger signals just don't work until it's very late into me not eating and I'm basically starving myself. It's not something I do on purpose, it just kind of happens. Because, again, my hunger signals don't work. My brain and my stomach are not really agreeing as to when I'm hungry or not. It's kind of a problem. So, I gotta work on that. And, yeah, it's a lot. But, to be fair, I do have a toaster oven pizza that I could reheat. I also have a Danish by my desk that I meant to eat before the stream, and I just forgot because I was setting things up. And I'm gonna treat myself to a giant jug of ice water. And maybe some tea. And the cats already had wet food. Oh yeah, wet food. That was probably the other reason why they were away. Yeah, I gave them wet food part of the stream. The cats eat better than me. But yeah, so I will have food. And I hope everyone had fun. This was a very spontaneous stream, but hey, I had a guest and that was cool. And not now, stomach, I have to beat this boss. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes it's like... Sometimes I know why I'm forgetting to eat. Sometimes I just don't really feel hungry, and then I suffer the consequences later when it's too late and I'm technically starving. It's complicated. My health is a crapshoot. And stuff. Like, I am getting better at walking, though. I'm able to walk a lot better without using the cane as much. So that's an improvement, actually. But yeah, my appetite is just garbage. My appetite, or lack of appetite, it's absolute garbage. But yeah, so yeah, so I'm gonna end stream here, just so I can eat and take care of my humans' needs. My humans? Oh my god, maybe I've been the machine all along. Dear God! My life is a lie! Anyway. Wouldn't that be terrible? What if I had been like a machine the entire time and I just didn't know it? Like, if I was actually a robot, and maybe that's why I find machines so fascinating, because I unknowingly am a machine. My god. Oh, that would be horrifying. Granted, in my studying of machines, I am kind of just Lane from Serial Experiments Lane, because in the anime at least, Lane starts out as a girl who doesn't even really know anything about computers and hardly uses computers at all, to basically just being wired up to computers and trying to access computers from within. So, I'm kind of laning, in a way. Yeah, like, I think my knowledge and love of machines is just me laning all over the place. But yeah. But no, I'm not a machine. I checked. I am just a human machine. A machine made of flesh interfaces and blood and bones and other horrifying fluids. And yeah, so I'm a machine, but not like a machine, not like a computer. I'm just a person. Yay. Sam, where'd you get it? Stream that pizza isn't going to eat itself. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go eat the pizza. But yeah, I had an amazing time with you all. And I hope you all have a good night and a good sleep. If you don't hurry, teacher will eat it. She can't... Actually, surprisingly, she doesn't get on the counters. Which I'm so grateful for, because cats on my counters... There's not enough space on the counters for myself to cook, let alone a cat. But yeah, don't worry, I will eat pizza. I'll review the pizza. I will drink a lot of tea. And then I'll go to bed. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Normally I do an outro. but I'm also really hungry, and I don't want to concern everyone by staying on stream longer just to do an outro when I should be eating. So until next time, whether I have a guest or not, whether it's a sci-fi stream or not, I will see you guys later. And I hope you all have a good night and a good sleep, and that you all eat well. Bye!